pockets of resistance all around the planet. We've been fighting a long time. If you're listening to this, you are not alone. You are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law,
understand they are safe as long as they are not
the
discovered.
conduct of
That
nations.
is their
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order,
intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness.
an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedate.
What's up, family? What is going on, man? First of all, let me say it's cold out here, man. Happy Valentine's Day, man, to everybody that celebrates Valentine's Day. I know for some people it's a big deal, for some people it ain't. But whichever side of the fence you on, man, I hope you enjoyed your weekend, because it is coming to an end. I'll talk about a few things, man. Some things I think is quintessential with what is going on, man. First off, I wanna say yes, guys. I did get a strike on my main channel again. All right, so I currently have 2 strikes on my main channel, and I won't be dropping one of them until like April, which is a big deal because I think when this video is being aired, I think I cannot post on there. So likely this is gonna be on Rumble. So if you've been on Rumble, man, you've been good. You've been able to keep up. But YouTube, yeah, they still playing with this, same old tricks. So I can't do a lot on YouTube. What I'm probably gonna go back to though is posting a live to YouTube and taking it down within an hour. I'm gonna do that. It's a risk, and we should be through with this, man. Like I said, they supposed to be getting rid of this censorship crap that they doing. Everything I've been telling y'all is factual, man. If you've been following me, man, you done dodged some bullets, and you continue to dodge bullets. I want to point out some things today, man, that happen to deal with them bullets and stuff. But beforehand, I want to say yes, guys. We did get the IVs, and we got a lot of IVs, man. We had shipments that was backed up, man. It kind of slowed some orders down, but anybody that ordered last week and this week, man, you should be receiving your order this coming week. So the week of, the week of the 16th, 17th, you should be getting your orders in this week. All right, anybody that ordered prior to this video should be getting a order by probably Friday of this coming week. All right, so in case you didn't know, we still are running that special right now, the Valentine's special, if you want to call it that. But you get the super bundle for $150, the ultimate bundle I believe is $120, and you got the flex 4, which is $100, and you can get the which was that? No, we had to take one of the bundles down, man, because they were sweating us. There's another one, man, we have. It's a tea that we have, man. I'm gonna put it back up, but it's supposed to treat cancer, right? We drink this tea over the course of 30 days, man, and it literally will rid your body of cancer that has not been diagnosed yet, right? So, and also if it has been diagnosed, it still will treat it. They don't want you to know this stuff. They don't want you to have this stuff. So we got to flow on the radar on when we talk about it, how we talk about it. So we gonna have that back up there, man. So just keep checking for it. Keep checking for it. Other than that, man, like I said, we do have the bundles, specials and everything, man. Of course, you know, the super bundle comes with the Genesis, which is the pineal gland decalcified, the third eye, which is very important. I can't emphasize that enough. You have never decalcified. Think about this, the stuff they give you in the morning, the stuff they try to force on you. This is why it's important. The milk, okay, it calcifies the pineal gland. They don't talk much about your pineal because they don't want you to know much about it, because that's the most important organ in your body. All right, it removes the fluoride, which they put this stuff in the water and the toothpaste stuff. Make sure you drink a lot of water a day. Think about it. Make sure you get your milk in the morning. Milk does the body good. All that crap lies. All right, drinking so many ounces of water a day lies. That water that they have us drink is not good for the body. There's a natural water. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's a natural water that actually is for our human bodies, that actually gives us our healing powers and stuff. It gives you your body the ability to regenerate stuff. The real water that you're supposed to be drinking. All right, but it makes you drink your 8 ounces of water a day because they want to make sure you get a certain amount of fluoride every day. All right, drink or brush your teeth every morning with fluoride toothpaste. This is the stuff that they did to calcify your third eye, keep your intelligence down, keep you from connected to the source. On top of it, they put stuff in the medicines, schedules and stuff. And I think I got a piece in here where they talking about that. I'm gonna make sure I find it. This video might be kind of long because I got a lot of stuff jam-packed in here, man. Anyway, I just want to talk about that. If you haven't decalcified, if you haven't detox, period, man, make sure you do that. This is important. This is quintessential to your life. Can't emphasize that enough. Y'all finding out how deep and how corrupt this world is. All right, but you have to understand. And this is a piece in here I got about Robert Kennedy Jr., who's taken over, now been confirmed as the head of the health department. And the news, MSNBC, which y'all know they Dracos, they didn't even want y'all to hear what he got to say. They didn't want y'all to hear him as he being sworn in and talking about the stuff he want to do. So I put some pieces in here so y'all can see. You can see them talking about, well, we're not going to listen to this. Because they the enemy. The enemy.
Should I be so privileged as to be confirmed, we will make sure our tax dollars support healthy foods. We will scrutinize the chemical additives in our food supply. We will remove financial conflicts of interest from our agencies. We will create an honest, unbiased, gold standard science at HHS, accountable to the president, to Congress, and to the American people. We will reverse the chronic disease epidemic and put the nation back on the road to good health. Thank you.
Recommendations on that page?
Yes.
The first sentence reads, on the basis of information largely derived from histological, chemical, and molecular studies, it is apparent that fluorides have the ability to interfere with the functions of the brain and the body by direct and indirect means. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
So CDC agrees with NRC that it is apparent that fluorides have the ability to interfere with the functions of the brain and the body by direct and indirect means.
Yes, CDC in connection with the intergovernmental.
So I'm moving now.
Donald Trump is now speaking at the lectern before RFK Jr. will be sworn in. When we come out of this, we're going to talk to a practicing physician and expert in health systems management. That person's going to give us everything about what it would mean, would the purview and the remit for RFK Jr. So let's listen to this, and then we'll come out. We're not going to listen to this. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. We're going to watch this. For now, joining us, practicing physician and expert in health systems management and hospital revenue cycles, Dr. Drew Updike. All right, so we are going to watch as RFK Jr. Gets sworn in.
For 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump. All right. And he gave me... now given me. He's kept every promise that he's made to me. He's kept his word in every account and gone way beyond it. I'm so grateful to you, Mr. President. A lot of people told me that I couldn't trust President Trump. I better get it in writing. And we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done. Right. And I'm so grateful to him, and I've told you before, I genuinely believe that you are a pivotal historical figure, and you are going to transform this country.
He talking about cleaning up our water, our food, and doing all this stuff, making sure we clean and straight. They like, nah, we they don't want you to hear it. So they block it the best way they can. Just like they block and censor me. It's the same thing they doing on that level. You see what I'm saying? So they gonna make sure that you don't get that information. Right? Just like I'm putting here too, the movie They Live. Yeah, y'all know I use They Live a lot. They Live is like Roddy Piper said, it's a documentary. It's a documentary, but even when it came out in the movies back in the day, it was so real, they started blocking it at the movies. They stopped showing it because it was too real, and it was becoming like a hit, like people was really catching on. And then it's really depicting what's going on here, what's been going on.
When Roddy Piper was still alive, he revealed through Twitter that John Carpenter's science fiction classic, They Live, a movie in which Roddy played the leading role, was not a piece of fiction, but instead a documentary. What are the symbols used by this film, and what are the hidden messages? John Carpenter never expected his movie to open in the #1 position at the box office in 1988, a few days before actor Ronald Reagan ended his tenure as president. In the film, control of the media is used by aliens to assume political power and subdue the human race. Even as They Live was beginning to open people's eyes, a conspiracy arose among theater owners to limit screenings of the movie, prematurely ending its distribution. Roddy Piper, a professional wrestler with the World Wrestling Federation, plays the role of Nada, a homeless drifter. As the film opens, Nada's attention is captured by the blind street preacher who is delivering a sermon in a public park about they who have recruited the rich and powerful, they who are our masters. As the police arrive to silence the preacher, Nada leaves to avoid the fate of those who speak out against those in power. Nada takes shelter at a shanty town, where he hears a pirate broadcast from the human resistance. The broadcaster warns about they who are dismantling the middle class, they who are making more people poor. By means of a special transmitter, they are inducing a state of consciousness resembling sleep. Across the street from the shanty town, inside a chapel sometimes used as a meeting place for the resistance, there is a warning painted on the wall. They live, we sleep. This church is where Nada finds a special pair of sunglasses, which block the alien transmission, allowing him to see the truth. Now he can clearly see the subliminal messages normally hidden in media and advertising. Billboards command the masses to obey authority. Products bear labels demanding consumption. Currency shows itself visibly to be the root of all evil. For the first time, he sees the masters, the class elite, the 1%, the ones who run the economy, the ones who own the property. The masters are the Illuminati, as indicated by their brightly reflective eyes. In the same year that saw the birth of the United States, 1776, the secret society of the Illuminati was founded in Bavaria before it became part of Germany. Protestant Christians were actively recruited, to the exclusion of Jews, pagans, and Catholics. Paradoxically, their first principle was the rejection of religion. By lurking in the shadows and pulling the strings of influence, instigating pivotal events and planting agents in government and business, they intended to gain political power and influence, and ultimately establish a new world order. In They Live, the Illuminati have also infiltrated the ranks of our police force. Anyone who does not obey is repressed. It is no accident that this is reminiscent of law enforcement today. Nada takes matters into his own hands and infiltrates the secret lair of the enemy. Their control of the media is maintained by transmitting a sleep signal by television. This brings to mind those present-day news programs and talk shows on radio and television, promoting a biased political agenda. Nada discovers human collaborators who aid and abet the Illuminati in exchange for money and power. At the end of the film, Nada destroys the alien transmitter. And when the signal is terminated, the public too is suddenly able to see the alien faces of the overlords. Actually, it is the movie itself which is intended to awaken its audience to the presence and the intentions of the Illuminati among us.
This is why we have a lot of problems we have. We've been taken over. You understand what I'm saying? I told y'all that we've been infiltrating. I play this one guy all the time, man. He talk about you got certain people in the CIA, you got them in the military.
Hello. I would like to share with you a report that I just got a lot of help in putting together from the Hall of Research, and about the next group of people that are about to be arrested. There are 1,819 reptilians, and there are 807 males and 12 females. And these people require technology, and they have to drink human blood to appear human. And I'd like to quickly go through the list. 17 members are from the Bush family. Dick Cheney is one of them. Vladimir Putin is one of them, and he has 36 other Russians with him over there. A lot of them are the KGB agents. There are 58 of these reptilians in the military, and they're mostly generals. The director of the CIA, the American branch of the CIA, the director John Brennan, Keith Alexander, the director of the NSA, the director of the TSA, and they're in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. We have 16 current senators in the United States corporation that are not the slightest bit human. Not even the slightest little bit. We have 17 Secret Service agents, 72 corporate executives and CEOs, and, 218 people in Hollywood. Most of them are considered moguls and major actors. And the reason that the biggest concentration is in Hollywood is because they like to be worshipped. There are 112 of them with child rapist and child murderer, child trafficker, Elizabeth Windsor,
I call her Queen of the Sewer Lizards, and because they're dark entity reptilians, and she has such a long history of murdering children. And many of the presidents in Europe fall under her command, and they are beings like her. And she's not the slightest bit human, and neither is her husband. And all you have to do is Google their faces. And I think that the vibrations have gone up enough on this planet that people can start seeing the truth. Although most people continue to lash out at me. And, you know, the same way they did to David Icke. But I don't really care what people think, because I created an intent in 2008 that I only wanted to know the truth. I only wanted to see the truth, hear the truth, and witness the truth. Instead, and I love people's opinions, but honestly, I really don't care what they are ultimately.
Military, that's why the CIA, they've been behind. Like, look at it. This piece of her talking about how CIA is funding they funding, okay, the payments to children of the Taliban.
The $40 million a week that comes on the airplane and comes into Afghanistan. So the plane comes in weekly. The amount of money on the plane weekly is $43 million to $87 million. But one thing I want Americans to understand is in that bucket of the $40 million we send each week, we are paying basically welfare to the Taliban martyrs' families. So every Taliban member who died during the war with us, the US government is paying them a stipend, the family. So our families of Americans who died there aren't getting squat, but we are paying Taliban families for basically dying while attacking us.
Whoa.
Yes, we're funding that.
This is just enraging.
And you know, I asked a couple of people that question straight out, like, do you not think this is not ethically correct? And actually one person gave me an answer of, well, it'll stop them from joining ISIS. I'm like, the Taliban guy's already dead. Like, they give you these bullshit excuses as to why they're funding, like, our enemies. So...
But I think that's a huge problem in America to begin with,
yeah,
is making excuses.
For terrorist sympathizing and not paying attention to the fucking money.
Why would you be doing that? Why are you funding known terrorists? Our country, we have people that have died in this country to protect from the Taliban. Y'all not paying the American family, y'all paying the Taliban? This is why I tell you, everything is reversed. Just like the stuff you're supposed to get, the food, the water, the stuff that's supposed to be good for you. It's not. The medicine is not good for you. They reversed it. You see what I'm saying? The boys and girls homes and clubs and stuff that's supposed to help the kids, they doing the trafficking. They helping get them to these politicians and these corrupt officials and things to do rituals and human sex trafficking, child trafficking, adrenochrome, all that stuff. They behind it, so they hide behind these different fronts.
This was fire.
Under the guise of foreign aid, USAID has been an unapologetic front for a far-left agenda. It has become self-evident there weren't a handful of foolish policies, but rather a coordinated strategy of radical, idiotic, and often anti-American priorities. Idiotic, you say? Millions to teach Moroccans how to make pottery? The Moroccans were making pottery before we were a country. This entire debate today and the crocodile tears from Democrats just goes to show what's wrong with this town. Not a single Democrat I've heard has expressed dismay at the many examples of crazy, wasteful spending. I don't understand the objection to a deep dive in how we spend our money, but perhaps it's the fact that over the last several weeks, a massive surge has occurred in the search for a criminal defense attorney. That probably says it all. 5 times in this city, any other city in the nation. I'd like to remind the committee that President Kennedy unilaterally created USAID through an executive order in 1961. Yet the President Trump, orders a momentary pause after winning a mandate for reform, and Democrats cry, constitutional crisis. As long as you're spending other people's money, no one bats an eye. But the second you want to save taxpayer dollars, the swamp cries wolf, or in this case, unprecedented constitutional crisis. This breathless, fake outrage from the left is utterly insane. And you know what the American people, you know they can see right through it. The generosity of Americans and the blessing of giving aid to others has always been one of our most valuable tools for diplomacy. The American people have a proud history of championing aid to our fellow man, but lawless bureaucrats have poisoned that goodwill. Many USAID programs are wasteful and actively sabotage our diplomatic relationships by forcing woke ideology on our partners. Just look at PEPFAR, a beacon of hope in the fight against HIV/AIDS, yet the Biden administration even weaponized this crucial program, jeopardizing lives and undermining our relationship with African nations. Under Administrator Powers, our message to Africa was explicit, as it was heinous. Abort your babies and violate your religious convictions, or we won't grant you life-saving aid. Let me be crystal clear to those who've been complicit in this betrayal. Firing those involved is just a start. We have a long way to go. And one last point. I want to correct the record on a couple of things. First, Elon Musk and the team that is working does not have access to personal data. They don't have access to your Social Security number. That is a lie. Elon Musk does have a security clearance. He has a top secret security clearance. By God, he makes the rockets for NASA. But the suggestion that he somehow can't be trusted to dig into how we're spending our money is nothing but a smokescreen to hide the corruption and the wasteful spending that has occurred there. And I am personally offended at the left's continued references to 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds in their doing work. There are 19-year-olds who have won the Medal of Honor defending this country. Just because you're 19 doesn't mean you're some child who can't be trusted. It is offensive. And if you're 19 years old out there, 20 years old, and you're serving this country, by God, your service matters. Keep serving. We thank you for that.
We have some news right now. The Trump administration has completely shut down the USAID website, which is the agency responsible for humanitarian assistance around the world.
No. USAID is not just a humanitarian aid organization. It is a front in order to run covert intelligence ops around the world to do coups and regime change operations and all kinds of other criminal activities. In the mid-2000s, USAID was exposed for building a, quote, fake Cuban Twitter designed to lure in young users and slowly feed them anti-government content to spark protests. USAID was also involved in the 2014 coup in Ukraine, which some argue has led to the war in Russia now. And this stuff goes back decades and decades and decades. In 1973, USAID helped pump in millions of dollars to overthrow a democratically elected leader, Salvador Allende, to install a dictatorship that would be more friendly to U.S. interests. The organization is also involved in other sketchy activities like this, pause to read, and also this. Very interesting rabbit hole if you want to go down it. All the while, USAID was actively pressuring media organizations around the world to censor certain narratives. My point is, I'm sure there are some people on the ground doing good work at USAID. I'm sure there's good people doing good work. But at its core, it is a criminal organization. I just thought people would benefit from knowing.
Amid rising concerns regarding the integrity of international aid, allegations of misuse surrounding USAID have sparked a heated debate about its implications on U.S. foreign policy. Reports have emerged revealing that millions of dollars intended for crucial development projects may have been misallocated, leading to questions about the effectiveness of American assistance abroad. As investigations unfold, scrutiny intensifies over how these funds are managed, raising alarms among policymakers about potential corruption and inefficiencies. Public outcry grows as citizens demand transparency and accountability, pushing lawmakers to reconsider existing frameworks governing U.S. foreign aid initiatives. The fallout from these allegations extends beyond borders, complicating diplomatic relations and calling into question the U.S.'s commitment to global development. As confidence in U.S. foreign aid wanes, the government faces a critical crossroads where rebuilding trust with both domestic and international stakeholders becomes imperative.
Blurb update today on Epstein. It was showing a photo of him at Disney. He's sitting down at the table, Piglet's behind him. It's him and another guy sitting down, and this guy is holding this girl, like by her arms like this. That same girl is in another photo with Epstein. They're on the plane. She's like she's sleeping, she's laying down, and he's holding her like this. Then, come to find out, Disney sent kids to his island for snorkeling trips for like 9 years.
Snorkeling. Holy shit,
and
that makes sense.
their cruise ships made stops at his island all the time.
Yeah.
You see, they hide behind these different fronts. This is how all these politicians got rich. Think about it, guys. The politicians, think about this. I told you all the time. The celebrities stuff, they paid to drag your soul down, drag your spirit down, right? By doing what? By putting out low vibrational music, putting down stuff that keep you vibrating low. I keep on telling y'all how important that is. This is why we talking about the pineal gland and why you got to decalcify it, but you got to be vibrating high. When you do, if you die and you vibrating low, then you're going to be subjected to these dark spirits and things like that, man. And you're going to have to repeat this life. Y'all don't understand. You're not going to ascend to heaven. It's some metaphoric stuff, man, with the understanding of how this body, this mind, and soul, and spirit work. But y'all not giving that information. They don't want you to have it. I'm going to play a piece in here from a guy, man. He a little like off, you know, he on point, but he kind of wild on how he delivered. But he on point about what he talking about. You have to understand that.
I was sent here to grow and develop. So if you're not here developing your talent, your skills that they talk about in the Bible, and they talk about in your Quran, then you ain't did the life right, so you got to keep on coming back. That's what I got, mom. But you don't understand about coming back is the time don't exist. So everything is happening now. The past, present, and the future is all connected in every move. So you're just gonna die, come back in another body, but it's all happening right now like a long ass dream, but you just don't understand it. But when you wake up and open all your levels and you vibrate correctly, right? If you vibrate correctly and stay in the dark with meditation, then you can vibrate and get out of hell. That's what I'm about. And that's what Jesus came to everybody. You can get out of here. Everybody like, don't look up, for heaven is within. He kept on pointing to the heart. But they want to tell you to be smart in your brain, but your IQ level don't matter. It's about the heart, because the soul is in the heart. You die, you just don't know it. I died 5 times, right? And I'm telling you, don't go towards the light. I got tricked. I went towards the light, gang. The light bring you back here. Don't go towards the light, because the light is the devil. It's part of their trick. Stop playing on me.
And I've been trying to get this across to y'all. Like, the celebrities are paid to bring, like, these rap artists and music artists, they paid to give this bad music. And then they involved in this. So why you think Kendrick Lamar, who's been one of the more conscious artists, he done went against Drake, and now he on top, and Drake is kind of falling down below. Now, that could be because, yeah, it's a shift, like a paradigm shift, where you got the bad going down and the good going up. You got good stuff coming out for us. You got a conscious artist that's taking over from an artist that had been plagued by Illuminati links and affiliations, Drake, right? And then they got this dude performing at the Super Bowl calling Drake a pedophile. Everybody getting called pedophile. Diddy going down. Think about all these music artists and these celebrities that's been getting jammed up with the stuff that's been coming out lately, right? You think about that, you start to understand that it's a shift. So I'll be telling y'all, it's a shift, man. It's a real shift in what's happening. It's not just Trump. Okay, this stuff is happening on an intergalactic level. Stuff like dude said, Al Billick said, it's a war going on in outer space, and we hope it doesn't reach Earth's surface. It's reached Earth's surface. And I tell y'all all the time, people like, oh, outer space doesn't exist. Oh, guys, I'll break it down for you on the way that you're supposed to know. Most people don't. Most people can't understand and comprehend it. I know we done came a long way from when we was talking about devil worshiping and blood sacrifices and stuff. Now we talking about intergalactic stuff, right? Space does exist. It just doesn't exist in the context that you understand it. We understand our spiritual being. What is a spiritual being? A spiritual being is interdimensional. You can go between dimensions. Spiritually, that's where your pineal, the pineal is the seat of the soul, the spirit, right? That's why they want to calcify. That's why Rudolf Steiner, I might put that piece in here. I put it a lot of times, and sometimes I got to go back because I got new people, I got people to understand, people that forgot. Rudolf Steiner, occultist member, just like all these celebrities and stuff, they occultist members. They members of Under the Beings, right? But he said that they was creating these different medicines to make sure that they disconnect you from the spirit at birth as a child. This is why once you get to a certain point in age in school, kids can't see spirits and stuff no more. They no longer have their interdimensional abilities, right? This is why you have to go within, you have to meditate stuff and get to that point where you have your powers back. You think they want you to have your power that God gave you? No, they want everybody to be dumbed down to a certain level so everybody can't reach that. You can't have a bunch of people running everybody else if these folks are connected. Because people not going to be able to be bamboozled. So this is why they put so much work and so much money and stuff into doing that stuff. To making sure that they dumb us down. Make sure they give you stuff. Think about it, they give you poisons and all this stuff. Who gives you poison? This is what Robert Kennedy Jr. is addressing. They give you all these poisons and things, man, that they know is bad for you. And if you figure it out, you figure it out. If you don't, then oh well to you. Oh well to you. But they didn't put this stuff in place, man. It's like the movie They Live. They show you how a race of beings has taken over the human race. And then they have deceptively implemented certain things different aspects of our life to negatively impact us and affect our lives. From our education, from our knowledge, from our spirituality, to our health and our longevity, our life expectancy. They have affected all these things with the methods that they have implemented. So I just talked to y'all about the celebrities and how they do all this stuff to lower your vibration, right? They did that and they're working up under the beams. The politicians ain't no different. The politicians they are up under the beams as well. So they do this stuff and they get this money. They make sure that they take care of. As long as they do stuff to control the sheep. You got sheep herders. That's what they are, sheep herders, right? So they do all this stuff to help control the sheep and keep people asleep. Just like the movie They Live. This is what it's supposed to be. This is why you got the rich getting richer, you got the poor getting poor. Remember in They Live, they talk about that all the time. And it was like the rich, he said, he said the poor and the underclass, the lower class are growing. And more homelessness is going on. What do you think has been going on in America for the last couple years? Homelessness been exploding, skyrocketing. Look at California, man. There's so many people that have moved here from California because of the homelessness that has exploded. But it ain't just out there, it's all over the world. Homelessness is exploding. They have been doing their best devaluing of the dollar, their best attempts at depop, but also at lowering the amount of money that people can acquire in positions and making it so that the cost of living is becoming too much for people to absorb, to where it's at a point where it's almost unavoidable. You have to get second jobs, third jobs. People got to do all kind of stuff to try to survive in this climate, this stuff that they've created. Why you keep seeing these politicians get paid like this? That's why I point out these pieces, man. I just did the video Money to Burn, right? Money to Burn, and it really depicts details what's going on with the spending, the USAID, and how they've been basically filtering money over into these other countries, and then it's coming back as kickbacks for the politicians. Why you think these politicians getting rich like they are? You got a job where you're supposed to make $200,000 a year, but you got $202 million in your bank account. Where'd you get all of that? Where did you get all of that? You was making $200,000 a year. You still got to pay for your living and stuff. So even if you're making that, you probably end up with like $100 at the end of the day after taxes and stuff, right? Because you do get taxed. But somehow you're constantly coming up and you get up to $202 million. And this ain't just one. This is all of these Democrats leaders. And it ain't just them, it's Republicans too. That's why you got rhinos. So it's on both sides, because for me, it's no affiliation with a particular party. because they are a part of it. But you can understand why these folks fought and cried and tried so hard to keep Trump out. Because Trump is somebody who had his own money, so he don't need y'all money. Now I believe that goes back to the time travel piece, but we ain't gonna get into that. But these celebrities and things, they getting paid to keep you asleep and keep you vibrating low. But these politicians getting paid to control the sheep, to herd the sheep. So they got it all set up. Now I just told you, CIA, right? They've been a part of the child trafficking and stuff. And my boy Robert Steele, he's long since been deceased, rest his soul. But he pointed that out. The CIA was involved with the child trafficking.
Off that this is a court of inquiry. It's not an adversarial court. It's a nonprofit educational event. And with enormous energy and intelligence, all of us have been brought together to try to bring out some of the aspects. So if I may, I have prepared an overview statement based on my work these many past weeks. And I want to just say that as a parent and as a patriot, I'm absolutely outraged by what we're allowing to happen to our children. Humanity is judged on how you treat the weakest member of the society. Let me say that although pedophilia, which says child love, has nothing to do with the abuse of children, these children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. It's also the use of children for harvesting body organs. We'll have the Falun Gong testimony tomorrow. One of the reasons that the Falun Gong are so popular is because they're so healthy, so that you can harvest their body organs and get the very best. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder. I have been a spy. I'm out from undercover. I'm under a lifetime secrecy agreement. I absolutely tell you without doubt, I have no secrets that I can remember. If when I go to Iran soon, they can torture me, there's nothing there for them to get. But I know the system. I've been a spy all over the world. I have created the Marine Corps Intelligence Command. I have trained intelligence and law enforcement representatives, over 8,000 of them from across 66 countries. They're all, without exception, good people trapped in a bad system. And one of the most wonderful things that this court could achieve, now that we've had Pizzagate, for example, which opened people's mind, is we could achieve an opening of the public mind and an absolute imperative from the public to governments, including the U.S. government, which I think is the center of gravity in so many ways. I have found in my research and preparation for this court and all of the work that will follow that most organizations that end up being used to prey on children, Oxfam is a recent example, all of the United Nations organizations, the Boy Scouts of America, all of the child services agencies across the United States of America, they did not start out as organizations to prey on children, but they attract pedophiles. And ultimately, pedophiles end up rising in the ranks and controlling those organizations, so that an organization that initially started out in the service of children becomes an organization that is in fact hunting children. And one of our distinguished commissioners has written an absolutely wonderful book called Child Hunters, which I recommend to all of you as a brief on this. Governments are letting us all down. And I absolutely agree with the commissioner who brings forward the need to restore the sovereignty of we the people. because governments have become not only bureaucratized, but they are now the servants of the deep state, of the banks. And if I may, the deep state is not the same as the shadow government. As I say, every organization is 90% good people trapped in a bad system. It's the highest 10% that is generally the rogue killer element. The shadow government is generally politicians. I won't speak to England, but in the United States of America, we have a two-party tyranny, which disenfranchises 70% of the public. And so they run this chimera of an election process. One of the problems with computers is they're too easily manipulated. In the United States of America, elections are decided before the first vote is cast. The electronic voting machines are essentially fraudulent machines, just as computers can record a fraudulent judgment that sticks with you forever, or make a child vanish. I am concerned because most of these organizations dealing with children don't have counterintelligence protection. They're not vetting the people that are moving up in the ranks, and the government is allowing that to happen. So what you have essentially is the pedophiles generally appear to be the most wonderful, sociable people. You know, let Sally sit on Uncle John's lap because he's such a loving uncle. Unbeknownst to people, Uncle John is actually a predator. We're not doing the counterintelligence at the local level, the province level, or the national level. It's absolutely essential that we begin to talk about this openly. And while we are not a law enforcement commission, we can in fact turn information over to law enforcement. And I believe we will render a signal service to the people of Great Britain and to other countries by being a magnet for information. It's been my experience that when you put out one piece of free information, it attracts 100 pieces of information from others, of which 10 are priceless. So there's a 10-to-1 return on investment. And this commission seeks to create an online library and some other things that I'll talk about in a moment. And I believe we will serve as a magnet, a hub, a catalyst for a new emerging global consciousness about pedophilia and all of its aspects. There is great cause for alarm. There are two great causes for alarm beyond the actual fact of pedophilia and its existence, which, as His Grace has pointed out, has gone on for centuries. First, the elite appear to be seeking to infect local and provincial law enforcement officers with a taste for pedophilia. There appears to be a very deliberate attempt to push this interest in pedophile movies, including movies that include bestiality. I'm very concerned because we're seeing some snuff movies now, and we're seeing some movies in which military war dogs are raping children, including toddlers. And these movies may have come out of the American occupation of Afghanistan and the boredom of U.S. Army and Marine Corps troops, where in Afghanistan, pedophilia is common. It's a standard practice at the village level. But military war dogs plus common pedophilia and video cameras, which every U.S. soldier and Marine has, is a very, very toxic combination. And I'm seeing direct evidence that that is one of the most horrible things that's come out of Afghanistan in recent years. Now, let me also tell you that we have a second concern, and the witness has really most magnificently outlined asset stripping. The core message from this asset stripping is that the same machine that strips children from families strips wealth from those who are being preyed upon. Not just whistleblowers, but, as we'll hear on Wednesday, husbands stupid enough to try and hide their money by moving it offshore so that they don't have to share with their wife. What husbands do when they turn over their money to intermediaries who are part of this system is mark themselves as a target. They might as well paint a target on their forehead, because they have now become prey for a system that recognizes people who are asking to be made destitute. Now, it's not my working assumption, but the working assumption yet to be proven that the totality of the children disappearing worldwide is toward 8 million people, toward 8 million children. In the United States of America, the acknowledged number, not counting the children being bred without birth certificates, not counting the children being imported without documentation, is between 600 and 800,000 a year. Now imagine Africa and East Asia and all these other locations. I personally believe that the number we want to try to document is rising well beyond the official figures, and we have yet to learn what the actual number is, okay? The other working assumption is, how long do these children survive within this system? What I am hearing from the witnesses that I've talked to is 2 years. It may be longer, it may be 4 years, it may be 6 years, but by and large, these children are so abused. I mean, we're talking rapes by the hour and so forth, that they reach their expiration date within 2 years. And then they're murdered with impunity, or they're ritually murdered if that's what they've been bred for. So I think we need to document this. No one else has done this before in a systematic manner. This commission is rendering a signal service by seeking to do an overall view in the public interest. This will be a massive, massive undertaking. And while the preliminary attempt is to do a 6-month to 9-month endeavor, subject to funding availability and the availability of witnesses and also prisoners, there are a number of prisoners who can be debriefed, who, when properly debriefed by specialists, can really give a deeper understanding that has not been achieved by existing law enforcement and other agencies, because they simply treat these people when they catch them, in those rare instances when they catch them, as disposable goods to be thrown into prison and forgotten about. And tomorrow we will have some expert testimony from one of our commissioners who can speak to this far, far better than I. William Binney is my counterpart. He is for NSA what I am to CIA, which is to say, he is saying, as I am saying, that we can delete 70% of our respective organizations and put the other 30% to work. But Binney is also the author of Thin Thread, which is a way of doing deep discovery in unstructured databases and the internet. And so he is prepared to actually help us do pedophilia tracking worldwide. And one of the things that the other technical commission, Stephen Arnold, is very good at is de-anonymizing the internet. This includes every image having a fingerprint. So you can take an image of a child being abused, and you can track that image through the dark web. So there are resources that we can bring to bear in support of this commission's mission. My favorite technical commission is Arno Reuser from the Netherlands, who is a master librarian. He is so good that when the Dutch intelligence community realized it didn't know enough about the world, they recruited him to create the Open Source Intelligence Center for Dutch intelligence. And as with the endeavors that I helped create in the United States, and in fact for Scotland Yard, very quickly people found out that they could get 40 to 60% of what they knew very cheaply using open sources of information. That's not what government intelligence agencies do today. They want to spend as much money as possible in the riskiest way possible on the most expensive way possible. They're not actually there to do decision support or answer questions. So I believe that Arno Reuser is capable of creating the world's first digital library on pedophilia. And this would be a multilingual library to include local dialects. And it would be a library that would then end up being what we call a magnet for walk-ins. We want to have a very professional ingestion system so that people can volunteer to provide expert witness to the thing, or they can volunteer to offer up their papers. There are a number of pedophiles now who are actually ready to turn over their diaries. All right, so I think we're actually doing something really, really huge. My final comment. The center of gravity for taking down the deep state. Pedophilia is both the induction glue. Pedophilia is how the deep state recruits and controls people. It is also the Achilles heel of the deep state. I believe that once the public realizes that the government is not protecting their children at a scale of vulnerability that we can articulate, then everything else about the government is called into question. All right? So for me, this is a truly righteous endeavor. And I will end by saying that as much good as it might do to get the British angry, for me, the center of gravity for change is the American public. Because if you can get the American public angry, we will stop supporting dictators overseas. We will close all of our military bases overseas. I am on record as a former CIA operations officer as saying that our 1,000 bases overseas are not there for national defense. They're there to serve as lily pads for the smuggling of guns, gold, cash, drugs, and small children. So let me say I am proud to be in your company, and I believe that no matter what we do or do not do, it is going to make a difference. God bless you.
Explain, what is the relationship? It's my question between the child trafficking, adrenochrome manufacture, and how this is used to blackmail and to control, Wall Street and also politics.
And judges. Let me start by giving the president very high marks. He did 2 executive orders, one in December 2017, one in January 2020, that are hugely significant on human trafficking. Human trafficking, and particularly child trafficking, underlies every other great crime in this country. Children are now more valuable than drugs for criminal transactions. As best I can tell, toward 8 million children a year are being abducted.
How many?
And every 8 million. Toward 8 million children a year. In the United States, it's 800,000 to 1 million.
Wow.
All right. This is very serious stuff. And part of the problem is that wars create refugees. And if you look at Hillary Clinton, for example, the Haitian disaster, her friends were in there scooping up children.
Yes.
What?
Yes, yes, yes.
Say that.
This is a matter of record.
Yeah.
Now, let me go back to the whole thing of child sacrifice, adrenochrome, and so forth. I didn't believe it myself, but Pizzagate woke me up. Is that Pizzagate or Comet Pizza? All of that. That woke me up, and I started looking into it, and I connected with an author, a West Point graduate. That's our Sandhurst, I guess. A West Point graduate, Joaquim Hagopian. And with my encouragement, he has written a book to which I wrote the foreword called, and this is free online. Everything I do is free online because my whole point is to try and raise public awareness and so forth.
Your website, robertsteele.com.
No, robertdavidsteele.com.
robertdavidsteele.com. Somebody will put it in the links. Mark, if you could put it in the links. It's our technical division.
Right.
Basically, and they can read about this. This is not something that is a secret to them. If they want to go on to, they can do their research on your website.
Please,
I gotta give Amazon high credit because they haven't censored these books or these chapters. They're also free online. I mean, people who know tinyurl.com just go to Pedo Empire.
Okay.
That's the short URL. But under my encouragement, Joaquin has produced 34 chapters so far, with additional chapters to come. And each chapter documents pedophilia going back into time. This is not new. I mean, the Aztecs and the Mayans were sacrificing children and drinking their blood and so forth. And drinking a child's blood without torturing the child is a known anti-aging device. Peter Thiel is on record in the newspaper saying he gets a transfusion of child's blood every day. All right. Now, the question is, what about torturing children? So we have pedophilia, which is child sex abuse. Then we have torturing children to create adrenochrome. And the easiest way I've found to explain this to people is to think about how the Chinese torture dogs. They basically boil dogs alive. And the reason they do that is because it changes the flavor of the meat. And what it's doing is it's pumping adrenaline from the tortured dog into the blood. And that's what's changing the flavor. Okay? Now, I have never participated in a satanic ritual abuse act. I've never talked to anyone who has been present at a satanic ritual abuse act. But Joaquim Hagopian has documented hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of links of people who have testified about all of this stuff, which includes things like forcing fetuses to be delivered and eaten on site as part of the ritual. Now, let me stop there and just say that Sidney Powell, I'm a huge fan of Sidney Powell, Mike Flynn's lawyer. I like to say that the only difference between Sidney Powell as a pit bull is that one wears pearls. Okay. She is a monster. And I would like to see her be a Supreme Court justice, because there's no one else in America that is standing up to crooked judges and crooked prosecutors. And by the way, crooked judges are running children into pedophilia by taking them away from their parents, and they're running the elderly to their graves in order to strip them of their estate. And the way this works is the elder person is drugged up, then the sheriff takes them away, then the estate is sold, and the judge, the prosecutor, the sheriff, and the doctor all split the proceeds. Okay? Sidney Powell gave a speech recently at a university in which he talked about what was known to have been on the Weiner laptop, which had all of the Hillary Clinton and Huma Abed stuff. And what she said was that what the New York police saw on that laptop caused them to vomit. I cannot overstate.
That's a New York police officer.
Yes, multiple officers.
Right,
Actually, I love the New York police.
Let's just say that again. That's a New York police officer who's seen a few things over the life of being a New York police officer. That's not a cozy job. That's not like a...
What I'm trying to say here is two things. The first is, before the FBI under Obama came in to confiscate the laptop and try to protect Clinton, the New York Police Department copied it. And the second thing I'm going to say is, I'm quite confident the President of the United States of America knows all of this in detail.
And CIA also doing what? They involved with paying out the Taliban. Why are you paying out terrorists? That's a treasonous act in itself, right? So why are you doing that? But I showed you how dude was talking about how the CIA got these beings in there. Is it starting to make sense to you? The level of corruption that we're dealing with, right? So it's no wonder they don't want you hearing from Robert Kennedy Jr. They don't want Trump in office, because who else was going to expose? You think these are two birds of the same, two wings of the same bird, when you got all these politicians that's being exposed for all the crap that they've been doing? That don't make sense. These people stand a lot to lose. Millions upon millions of dollars. Some of them probably go to prison and whatnot, but they doing insider trading. Like, it's insider trading, guys. It's money laundering. It's money being sent to overseas and it's coming back here. It's kickback. Man, I don't know. I might have a piece where they talk about all these different programs that they running in different countries to fund transgenderism. They got like $1 million coloring books that they paying for in Iraq. All taxpayer money paying for that so that they can have $1 million transgender coloring books to push the agenda. They got the same stuff going over here. Millions of dollars being poured into transgender cartoons for the United States. This is stuff that the USAID is funding, right? Then you got they talking about, in one of these pieces, dudes talking about teaching Moroccans how to do something that they already been doing. Y'all paying millions of dollars for that? No, you're not paying millions of dollars. That's just a front so that y'all can bring the money back and put it back in these pockets of these politicians. This is how they get these fat bank accounts. And once they get on, they talk to them. They're like, look, this is what you got to do. This is what you're going to do. You're going to get this money. Just shut the hell up and just do what you're supposed to do. You either on board or you ain't. If you ain't on board, then they're going to handle you. They're going to deal with you. They're going to out you. They're going to get you out the way. But if you are on board, you stay in the game a lot. You see what I'm saying? So we have to understand how this whole thing is put together, man. It's a whole circle of organized crime. Organized crime. And people don't understand that. Like, even with drugs and stuff coming in, we got drugs coming in by the boatload. Like, they talk about the opioid epidemic and stuff.
and how it's killing millions of, hundreds of thousands of Americans every year. And Trump like, look, we better go after them. We're declaring them, you know, the enemy, terrorists. These drug cartels and stuff. We declaring them the enemy. Why would you do that? Y'all remember the guns was dropped off, drugs and guns was dropped off. This was dropped off by our own gun into the projects and stuff. This is what made people the way they are. The stuff that they done. People don't understand this stuff, man. So they've been funding this type of crap. This stuff has been going on. It's destruction from inside out. We so worried about terrorists afar. We got terrorists on our own soil. This is stuff John F. Kennedy was pointing out. He was addressing this stuff, man. Putting it out in the open. This is why they knocked him off. He was a threat to the whole establishment. He's a threat to the Illuminati. And these occultist members, like Fauci, Hidden Hand. I done showed y'all how this stuff linked together, man. I done showed y'all how it's linked together. So you start to see, okay, they not really doing what they supposed to be doing, what they say they doing. They just say they doing stuff, like they say they doing AIDS research and stuff, like they point out. AIDS, they lied about. They put that whole piece together based off some fraudulent information, the same way they did with the wall.
Well, if you look at the actual deaths, just look at deaths. There will be more.
Tired of getting turned down for credit cards and loans? Let's change that. Imagine never having to hear denied again. With Credit Crack Code, our comprehensive ebook of credit secrets, you can unlock the strategies that the rich and wealthy use to skyrocket their credit scores and amass mountains of wealth by utilizing their credit effectively. No more pulling your hair out over credit rejections. Our step-by-step guide will have you moving from the 600s to the 800s faster than you thought possible. Picture yourself buying that dream home, getting approved for the best credit cards, and securing low-interest loans, all within just a few months. Why waste thousands on expensive credit repair companies, when the power to transform your financial future right now is in your hands? With Credit Crack Code, you'll gain exclusive knowledge that puts you in control of your credit destiny. Ready to escape the cycle of debt? For just one payment of $39.99, you can grab your digital copy of Credit Crack Code today and start building the luxurious lifestyle you deserve. Don't let another credit denial set you back. Get your digital Credit Crack Code ebook now and make the decision to start changing your life today. Click the link in the description box below for the Stan Store, or copy the address listed on the screen. Let's start building now, because time is money, knowledge is power, and credit is king.
And then got everybody to go into a panic, and then got people to do what? People start getting tested for what? AIDS and stuff, right? I told y'all how they do the test. You go get tested, that's how they get you. Think about that. It's a corrupt, it's a dirty game. It's a dirty game, man, but they don't have no allegiance to you. Their allegiance is to Satan. Do you understand what I'm saying? Anyway, like I was saying, guys, we interdimensional beings, all right? Interdimensional beings, understand that. So in order for you to be interdimensional, you have to be able to go to a different dimension. So this is not your only dimension. Just like I tell y'all, this is not the only world that has existed. This is what you've been taught and trained to believe so that you can't get out the box. And if you believe that, you're in the box. There you base all your training, all your information and knowledge off of one book that was placed here for this lifetime. But as you can see, they got technology and beings that have been here long before you. You see what I'm saying? Now, the story's been put together in an eloquent way for you guys to buy into it and accept it. But yes, angels, what you could say, angels have been thrown from heaven. Angels or demons, okay? Because they came here and they corrupted the world, these devils, right? But at one point, they were supposed to be angels. I don't know if that's necessarily true, if they were angels to begin with. I think they always was enemies of the people. I think they was basically essentially the Dracos. Okay, the Nephilim or whatever. They slept with women, right? They had the technology to fool women into thinking that they were real, regular men. We're talking about technology. Get off the illusion crap. right? We're talking about the ability to have this technology, right? And all these different beings and stuff. Do you think they have a Bible? You think these ships is flying around with Bibles? Huh? Do y'all really believe that? Or is that just something to coerce your mind? All right? Now, like I tell you all the time, make no mistake. God is a real thing. God created us and has set a place for us to be able to ascend to. All right? And you do have to have Jesus in your heart, which is a love. This is a symbol of love. You have to have the highest level of you have to have the highest level of vibration, which love is that, the highest vibration. All right? You have to have that in your heart in order for your mind. You talk about the chakras and how the spirit and the soul work. All right? You have to be able to connect that with one. I told y'all before, I had friends that they were so disconnected because they was vibrating low because of the stuff that they was consuming in their spirit every day. Ever heard you are what you watch, you are what you eat? If you watching negative TV all the time, which is why they put that out there to make sure that you vibrate low, so that they can keep you from ascending. But that disconnects your consciousness, which is your third eye, and also it could disconnect you because your heart is not pure. Your heart ain't right. You're not walking a righteous walk. So now you're not going anywhere. If you die vibrating low, you go to hell. But essentially, you reincarnate back into this realm to do this crap all over again. You understand? Because this is hell. And Satan has dominion over this. Is this not been proven yet? Have you not understood that yet? So, anywho, guys, it's a lot that I done put into this. Y'all also saw that Trump was going to eliminate funding to these schools that's forcing anybody to take the walks there. He's going to remove funding. Like, there will be no federal funding to anybody that's pushing the walk. Anybody's pushing the woke agenda. All that stuff that we talked about, we know is bad. He doing away with it. Doing away with that. He attacking these politicians, getting the money. He found all this damn money, and he removing the taxes. Now we're talking about, like I said, Nasara. He removing the taxes, abolishing the IRS. That's why he got to find all this money and where it's going, so he can compensate for what they finna take away for us, making you pay your taxes. Creating ERS, taxing the other countries instead of paying them out and filtering it back to politicians' pockets so they can line their pockets. You see what I'm saying? Dealing with FBI, dealing with CIA, which we already know they've been corrupt legs and wings of the Illuminati. Which is basically, these are our extensions of the rule of these beings. Just like they live. The dude said you would do it to your own kind. All these politicians, all these dang celebrities and artists and stuff, man, they have sold us out. We've been sold out. Do y'all understand? This is what they doing. This is what they've been doing. And they've been getting away with it all this time. But I told y'all, this is not a earthly battle. People get it confused. People get it confused because they see that Trump went in and took the presidency and stuff, man. This stuff is the battle that we've been having, man. It's been going on an intergalactic level. All right, and it's on the spiritual level and stuff. These battles, the stuff that you're seeing at this point has already taken place on other levels. Okay, these battles and things. This is the Earth's version, the visual version of a peaceful transition, but it's nothing like that. This is not a peaceful transition. This is a war that's being fought on an intergalactic and spiritual level that's being characterized as a peaceful transition of, I would say, some level of normacy in the eye of the average everyday person, in order for it to be accepted. Because you can't have, look, I told you this before, and then Max Spears broke it down for you. Like, you can't take over a race of people by using alien force. You can't fight like that. It has to be something visual for you to accept. Think about it. Also, we see aliens like, oh my God, aliens are shooting at the president. Oh, save Biden. And I done heard stupid stuff. People like, we're dealing with Trumpflation. We gotta get Trump has destroyed everything. Like, Trump been in office 3 weeks. Any inflation we dealing with is a result of Biden. Like, this is how corrupt these people's minds is. Like, people still blaming Trump for the inflation, the homelessness and stuff we dealing with right now. This is the kind of corruption that's going on. But anyway, like I said, the stuff that's going on, man, it's being presented in a way that people can accept it. Think about it, everybody ain't on the level that we on. Everybody don't understand this stuff. Everybody can't accept this stuff. Most people are asleep. That means their pineal glands is calcified. They have no way of absorbing information or understanding or processing information. Think about all the stuff that we talked about. And I told y'all this last time when I did the video. And I said, everybody put in the video how long you've been following me, how long you've been following this channel, how long you've been a part of the movement. So we can see where everybody at. Because if you've been getting a little bit of my information, man, if you only been here a year, you lost. You still lost. Unless you really went back and dug. Some people go back and they dig and they binge watch my videos, which is great. Because you get all this stuff like, damn, I didn't know that was going on. Whoa, when that happened? Whoa, what is he talking about? Think about that. In all my videos, if that's happening 2 and 3 and 4 times throughout my videos, and you didn't watch 400-500 videos, think how many ooh-wee, ah moments you have, how many epiphanies you having. Because you ain't know this, that, and other. And as we put this out there, it's like some of the information skates past people. Some of the people might miss one little piece. Some people still don't know we talking about another race of beings and a hostile takeover that took place. People don't know that. Just like talking about the JFK files, and more of that's being released, and they tried to, hide certain files with that to keep it from getting to the point where you start talking about CIA, start talking about involvement from the FBI. They've been hiding that stuff. So it's like, if you're not keeping up, man, and you missing little pieces, and a lot of this stuff ain't gonna make sense. So I say, where you at in your growth? And it's not just growth for understanding with me, but it's your growth and evolution as a spiritual being. And if you don't understand that you are an interdimensional being yet, then get off my channel. Get off my channel. Because you're going to die right here. This is where you belong. You can die as a human being and stay there. Me, I understand this world now. I understand how this stuff works. We are interdimensional beings, but we don't become interdimensional until we are able to activate. And you can do that here while you're here, or you can do that once you die. But at some point, you have to be able to ascend up out of here. But you're a spiritual being. The only way you can be a spiritual being, or the only way you can interdimensional travel, is as a spiritual being. So think about spirit, space. It's a reason why they had a prefix the way they do. Y'all don't get it still. I might play this piece of here, man. It talks about the English language and how it's cursed and used in certain ways for you not to understand.
Less means be less you. A soldier is a soul dyer. You are weakened on the weak end. From the weak days. Days is unable to think in a state of confusion. On the weekdays you work a job, which is Hebrew for persecuted. On that job you earn. An urn is a vessel for the ashes of the dead. Awake is a wake. A wake is a gathering that takes place before a funeral. Hollywood is the holy wood, the wood from a holly tree. This wood was used to create magic wands. They cast spells to a broad audience through the Tel-A vision, through the Hollywood programs. The bottom of the foot is called the soul, and your heel is hell. Your soul is in hell. You must raise your consciousness to the head, heaven. Heel is hell, earth rearranged is heart, and head is heaven. They're inside of you, not external places. They teach you to say the vowels in this order, A-E-I-O-U, to train you to become a slave. They want you to think slaughter is laughter. English language is full of hidden spells. Join my free Telegram channel.
It's stuff like this universe operates off of frequency. That's the language of the universe. Frequency, energy, hertz. This is stuff you have to understand. But spiritual beings, spirits operate off of this too. You understand? Vibration. This is why they do what they do, to make sure you vibrate low. So they can control you. Make sure that you never leave out of here. And you have to keep repeating this cycle and this cycle over and over again. Some people never make it, because they've been consumed by the stuff that they put here to consume you. To keep you blinded, to keep you from knowing the truth, to keep you from being able to get up out of here. And I tell you all the time, man, the one book they gave you, it ain't got all the information. It don't. You think I'm BSing if you want, it don't. And they've done this intentionally. Now, I'm not saying disavow anything in your teachings and stuff from the Bible. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you have to be able to add to that. You have to be able to start to put together and be able to connect to the source. They whole agenda, think about, why would the occultists make a big deal about making sure that they disconnect you? Why did they make a big deal about making sure they calcify something in your brain that you ain't even supposed to know nothing about? But why have they implemented stuff in the morning? That's why I tell y'all, get your dose in the morning. Think about it. When you on any type of meds, what they make you do? Make sure you take this in the morning, take 2 of these in the morning, take this at night, boom, boom, boom. They make sure you take certain meds in the morning. Some people jump up, they hit their medicine cabinet, take all their medicine, right? So what if they was medicating you and you ain't...
Born in 1861, Rudolf Steiner was an Austrian occultist, esotericist, and self-proclaimed clairvoyant. Among his many lectures, Steiner was quoted as saying, "In the future, we will eliminate the soul with medicine. Under the pretext of a healthy point of view, there will be a by which the human body will be treated as soon as possible directly at birth, so that the human being cannot develop the thought of the existence of a soul and spirit. Two materialistic doctors will be entrusted with the task of removing the soul of humanity. As today, people against this disease or that disease, so in the future children will be vaccinated with a substance that can be produced precisely in such a way that people, thanks to this vaccination, will be immune to being subjected to the madness of spiritual life. He would be extremely smart, but he would not develop a conscience, and that is the true goal of some materialistic circles. With such a vaccine, you can easily make the etheric body loose in the physical body. Once the etheric body is detached, the relationship between the universe and the etheric body would become extremely unstable, and man would become an automaton. For the physical body of man must be polished on this earth by spiritual will. So the vaccine becomes a kind of Ahrimanic force. Man can no longer get rid of a given materialistic feeling. He becomes materialistic of constitution and can no longer rise to the spiritual. Steiner's words, now 100 years old, are not only eerie but thought-provoking. We are bioelectric beings. If we are to believe our souls are energy and frequency, is it possible then to hijack our electromagnetic signature, reverse the polarity of our souls, and trap us in the physical world forever? And are there forces in this realm that wish to accomplish this?
You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, this, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. But some governments and corporations, for the first time in history, have the power to basically hack human beings. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste, because a crisis is an opportunity to also do good reforms that in normal times people will never agree to, but in a crisis you see we have no chance, so let's do it.
Even know it. What if they was medicating you and you ain't even know it? So how would they do it if they was gonna do it? Make sure you drink your water, right? Make sure you brush your teeth. Make sure you eat your milk and the cereal, drink your milk. Medicating, you ain't even know it. This is why people don't know. This is why what I'm saying right now, going right over your head. Going right over your head. You can't figure it out. Because you're being medicated behind your back. You see right now about the fact that Robert Kennedy Jr. going in, that he doing the opposite of everything that they've been on. But he was part of what? He's part of a family that comes from somebody that was a conspiracy theorist. JFK, biggest conspiracy theorist of all time. Right? But we understand the conspiracy theory is just a term that they coined in order to keep you from finding the truth. Just like when I put stuff on, when I talk about stuff in my videos, man, YouTube goes as far as to make sure that they put like a little icon or something up, a thumbnail or something up on my videos to derail you, to point you to a direction so they can give you their version of stuff. The sheep version. The version that they want you to absorb so that you don't know the truth. I'll tell you something, talk about the New World Order. All right, I'll talk about vaccines. They put their little thing up there and say, look, this is what it is. This is what you're supposedly, the expert opinion. Don't listen to this guy. And I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I know and I'm directing y'all in more so the right way than them. Okay? This has been proven at this point. This has been proven, and it's coming out more and more as we speak. So my thing is, man, I want to see what they do with these chemtrails that they spraying. Look, that stuff out there right now. I don't know if y'all can see it. I'm trying to point it right at that. Look at that. They're still doing that. That's something that's got to be addressed. Still doing that. But we know that that's part of the stuff that these folks don't even know that they spraying this crap on people. They don't even know they hurt people the way they are. But that's why I say that military dude, he was talking about, we shooting down, like these drones or whatever. That's us. We putting the drones out. Well, the drones have been spraying crap on people. So you've been doing stuff. You don't know that you've been doing stuff against your own people because you think you're following orders, and you following orders from a race of beings that's out to kill the human race. And they've been doing it. They got all their pieces in place to do it. And even the children and stuff that's being trafficked and everything.
It was USAID that I fear much more than the CIA, because the USAID is how CIA gets shit done.
USAID is clearly in the job of trying to bring about regime change. It has secret bank accounts, shell companies.
USAID gets $50 billion a year in U.S. taxpayer money. That's a larger overt fund than the CIA has.
USAID perhaps is the new CIA.
Have we ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably.
This is not just about over there. This is about here.
They have a process, a system by which they destroy other nations, and they use that same process and system in order to destroy the United States.
It's a plot against our own people.
America, what if I told you that the United States government was acting like the world's Gestapo, using organizations like USAID under the pretense of humanitarian aid to topple governments, install politicians, and orchestrate regime changes in third world countries?
I disagree with that as somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat. Not here, but, other places.
These are places that are practically entirely run at this point by the CIA and the U.S. State Department, which is, of course, a CIA front.
USAID provides most of the money.
This isn't a giveaway.
The State Department provides the policy vision.
This makes a difference to people's perception of us. Tricky endeavors, whether it's fighting terrorism,
Al-Shabaab groups in USAID camps,
or narcotics.
Joe Biden's State Department is commanding the Taliban to keep the opium flowing.
Or oppression or resistance to governance.
Those USAID trucks were stopped at the border to Venezuela with fully automatic weapons.
All of those things.
I don't think that's humanitarian aid.
What a difference that makes.
And if we stand for democracy anywhere, we have to stand for it everywhere, including in Guatemala.
Guatemala, what if I told you that USAID, the State Department, and the CIA created a fraudulent political party and then use that illegitimate party to rig the 2023 Guatemalan election so they could install a list of CIA-controlled politicians who would continue to allow them to run the world's largest child trafficking network out of Guatemala.
Nothing to do with that? Correlation, not causation?
That is absurd.
They didn't deny it, which means that they admitted it.
This is no question, a political shocker in Guatemala.
The U.S. government, the Biden administration, helped cover up voter fraud.
Why Guatemala? Why not some other country?
Guatemala is concerned about child trafficking, the NGOs that are trafficking the children.
Jill Biden was the chairman of the board of Save the Children.
You guys just raided Save the Children.
Guess who stepped in? The State Department, U.S. Embassy, and USAID. Another coincidence?
America. What if I told you that DHS, under the direct orders of Alejandro Mayorkas, would create a public-private partnership with Mexican cartels, and that HHS, under the direct orders of Xavier Becerra, would create a public-private partnership with NGOs like Save the Children and Southwest Key Programs. And in this quasi-public-private partnership, they would use your tax dollars to fund the world's largest international child trafficking operation.
As to whom we know where they are, that is outside the responsibility of the Department of Homeland Security.
This is nothing but lies. Nothing but lies.
Secretary Mayorkas, he acts like none of this ever happens.
It's his policies that caused over 500,000 of children being smuggled in this country.
And he also knew who to blame. HHS places those children.
That's on you.
Was that a question to me?
Are you familiar with the sponsors that utilize a strip club as an address? You shrug your shoulders and then send another batch of kids out to sponsor.
Human trafficking bust at an egg farm. Federal prosecutors call it modern-day slavery.
Of course, we investigate cases of trafficking.
Another lie.
You've actually inspired me because I get hesitant to give the kind of details that I've given in this interview. I've never done it before.
Their day is either spent being attacked, raped, or assaulted, and then when that's not going on, wondering if they're going to eat. There are some times that they don't get to sleep for 24 hours. If those traffickers have men lined up,
to describe it to you is, you wouldn't even believe it. I've had to watch infants be raped by adult males. Literally watching, an adult male penis go in and just break apart the child, skin ripping, bone crushing.
the person purchasing the trafficked victim, they want a young child who can feel what's going on.
And the louder the kid screams, the harder they go. That's what they're into.
In the sense that we have a crisis of human smuggling and trafficking that you can't even turn to the federal government now for help.
When I walked on site, my first question to one of the supervisors was, where's the FBI Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force? Where do we report these cases? Because I naively assumed that they were actually interested in combating trafficking.
We're betraying everything that is the American heritage, the American legacy. And we need to reverse that. And I think we have hope in President Trump.
People don't talk about, the press doesn't talk about one of the great scandals in history. Missing sex slaves, slaves, or dead.
They'll kill one of those trafficked victims.
Hear this. you vile, wretched predators who dare to lay your filthy, stained hands on God's children. Your days of darkness are numbered. Men like me, fueled by the divine wrath, are coming for you. We are God's army, and we will hunt you down with the ferocity of 1,000 storms. You thought you could hide in the shadows, that your sins would remain secret. No more. We know your faces, we know your names, and we are coming to strip away the vial of your deceit. You will feel the terror that you've afflicted upon the innocent. Every child that you've harmed cries out for justice, and we are the answer to that cry. You thought you were untouchable, but you've underestimated the power of God's vengeance. We will not rest, we will not tire, until every one of you is brought to justice. The night is no longer your ally, it is your prison. Your sanctuary of sin will become your tombs. Prepare yourself, for we are relentless. We will not show mercy where you showed none. You have sown terror, and now you will reap it tenfold. We are the light that pierces through your darkness, the sword that cuts through your lies. There is no corner of earth where you can hide from us. So tremble, for you have defiled the innocent. Live in fear, for every step that you take, we are right behind you. We are God's army, and we are coming for you. This is your final warning, and repent is no longer an option. The full wrath of the Almighty Himself awaits you. The hunt is on, and you are now the prey. Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Save the Children were engaging in behavior that led to the rape, murder, disappearance of thousands of Guatemalan children. And that's a U.S.-based NGO.
And strangely, a huge number of these kids are coming from Guatemala.
A lot of people may not realize how vulnerable the Guatemalan children are because they're speaking Mayan dialects, which means they can't ask for help in Spanish. They really become a victim population.
A very large portion of these kids are missing children in their own home countries. Their parents have no idea that they're in Detroit.
And Guatemala is investigating.
Are you aware of the position held by the president's wife in that organization previously at Save the Children?
No, we didn't know that.
They want to investigate Save the Children. They want to investigate the election. And all of a sudden, here comes Blinken, here comes the State Department, here comes USAID.
The most egregious crime the State Department has committed was directing an electoral fraud to put in their communist puppet as president of Guatemala last year.
They didn't want them to get to the bottom of raping and murdering and disappearing children. They didn't want that to happen.
If you have watched my previous film, Operation Amber Alert, or you follow my journey, you are aware by now that these projects are entirely self-funded. After releasing What is Treason #Trafficked with J.J. Carroll and initially putting it behind a paywall, I realized that this approach wasn't just un-American, it was counterproductive to our cause. To generate enough public outrage, at least 10 million people need to see this documentary. That's why I've decided to fund the Operation Amber Alert series myself. No partners, no sponsors, no strings attached. But this means I'm 100% resilient on your support to keep this operation going. At the time of filming this documentary, my Give, Send, Go campaign has raised around $17,000 since the premiere of my first Operation Amber Alert film on November 25th. That means that I've taken about a $7,000 loss to bring this story to light. People often question why I placed #Traffic behind a paywall. Now you understand that I can't keep producing these films if I'm hemorrhaging thousands of dollars. I had to leave my position at LFA TV, which means the only income I have now comes from the $250 I earn monthly on X and the $250 from monthly supporters. Every dollar is a testament to our collective mission to expose the truth. Imagine if you could, skipping just one cup of coffee. The small sacrifice could be fuel for our fight for justice. By becoming a paid subscriber on X or Rumble, you are not just supporting a cause, you are joining a movement. If we can rally 3,000 hearts to contribute $5 each a month, together, we can release a new documentary every 60 days. You're not just donating, you're becoming a vital part of something much greater than ourselves. A beacon of hope and change in a world that desperately needs it. You can donate directly by going to my Give, Send, Go at givesendgo.com/Operation Amber Alert, or head over to X at Ryan Meta Media and click the subscribe button to become a monthly supporter. Alternatively, you can click the money icon to see other donation options as well, which include my favorite, Bitcoin. Every little bit helps, and together we can shine a light where darkness has prevailed for far too long. God bless you. All right, America, listen up because I'm not going to sugarcoat this shit for you. Anthony Blinken and the State Department, alongside with Samantha Powers at USAID and the CIA, are balls deep in orchestrating a full-blown coup in Guatemala. They didn't just meddle, they rigged the 2023 presidential election. But wait, there's more. They tried to covertly assassinate the Attorney General of Guatemala, who just so happens to be the only person with the authority to investigate the election fraud. How did they pull this off, you may ask? By unleashing a horde of Antifa-style mercenaries, all courtesy of NGOs funded by your hard-earned tax dollars. This isn't just interference, it's a goddamn assault on Guatemala's democracy and their justice system. Check out this video where Anthony Blinken's goon squad is literally breaking down the gates to the Attorney General's home. And this next one, it shows the violent clowns after they breach the gate outside of her house. After they breach the gate, you can hear the neighbors who are terrified because there's an angry mob outside terrorizing the neighborhood. The guys are even pulling back this foliage, revealing the AG's address, and that's when you hear somebody say, "We can't go any further, it's private property." But do you think that stopped these goons? Fuck no. They stormed and vandalized the place, and they literally took a piss and they shit all over the Attorney General's home. Now, allegedly, the Guatemalan ringleader behind this operation goes by the name of Kiki Godoy, but that's just what a little birdie told me. So stay tuned for Operation Amber Alert Part 2. We're going to expose every one of these scumbags. Now let's flip the script, America.
America has subverted, sabotaged, and strangled democracies all around the world.
At least they're being honest at this point. They're no longer pretending like Obama did.
We do it because it's right. They've toppled governments, assassinated elected officials, fixed elections.
By one count, the United States has interfered in more than 80 foreign elections, and that doesn't count U.S.-backed coups and invasions.
They're using so-called aid money to just blatantly bankroll coup attempts.
It just is what it is, though. We have to be honest with the American people about what we're actually doing.
Bribed and bullied and bulldozed democracies on every continent for a century. But somehow you think that they're not going to do that in your country.
They cheated! They're cheaters!
Well, how naive can you be?
This election was rigged. Everybody knows it. If you count the legal votes, I easily win. This was a massive fraud.
They use the same machinery, they use the same systems in order to steal elections.
We won in 2016, and if you really remember it, if you want to play it straight, we also won in 2020.
A similar system of basically fraudulent ballots, creating fraudulent ballots.
When they started counting the votes, there weren't enough ballots. Ballots were missing.
Which is what we have here. We have all the information related to the theft of the election in 2023.
The people that are in power right now were on the 8th place, and nobody knew them.
Where the number 8 poll across the country never moved up. Number 8, 2 to 4% of the vote of the people in every poll ends up winning the president of Guatemala.
How can a candidate who was in 8th place suddenly come out ahead in the election? It's uncalled for.
Our government was imposed by a foreign government to cover up what they have been doing for years.
It is unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the behavior that they did in Guatemala and other countries. And that's the same behavior that they pushed out and did in the United States.
Just like that Ukrainian prosecutor, and just as we saw in Ukraine, there's clear signs this pressure campaign is working. Whatever's about to happen in Guatemala, it seems obvious that the Biden administration is involved in some way.
Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time. Well, there's still...
Let's call this for what it really is. Hunter Biden's Ukraine Burisma scandal 2.0. But this time, it's not Joe Biden, it's Anthony Blinken. And instead of Hunter, we got Jill Biden in the mix. We're going to unpack all of this. But first, let's lay down some cold hard facts. Fact number 1. I got the lowdown on every cent the U.S. government tossed at Guatemala over the last 12 years by hiring Randall Land, a private investigating firm. And big shout out to the badass investigative journalist Kim Wexler, MAJD over on X, for making the connection. Fact number 2. Over a 4-year period from 2020 to 2024, the U.S. government, through USAID and shady NGOs, funneled in $796,863,594 into Guatemala. What does Guatemala have to show for it? 200,000 missing children.
This topic is really close to our hearts here in Guatemala because we have had close friends in our family that have dealt with this situation in the past. It's the same NGOs that are implicated in one thing and the other. As you mentioned it, 250,000 children have been trafficked from this country to other places of the world that we know about. That's what we know about. You can imagine the whole bunch of kids that have not been registered throughout the borders or throughout the hospitals, local hospitals.
Fact number 3, from 2012 to 2024, over a decade, the U.S. government funneled in $4,046,986,932 into Guatemala through grants, contracts, loans, and direct payment. It looks like the deep state is using our hard-earned tax dollars to transform Guatemala into the child kidnapping capital of the world.
They are covering it up with the biggest electoral fraud that happened here in Guatemala. They imposed this government to cover all their things that they have been doing for the past 4 years, for the past 12, 17, 20 years. And so they imposed the government. And that's how they cover up all these things that you've been mentioning right now.
Now, that's one hell of an accusation. But let's dive into the grim details to see if it holds up. Listen up and listen good. Before we dive into the mess of rigged elections, assassination plots, and government overthrows, you need to grasp the sheer magnitude of this military-style child trafficking operation being ran by the United States government. This will give you a real taste of just how corrupt this system can be. According to ORR's official data, published on a government website, the Office of Refugee Resettlement reports that on January 1st, 2021 to October 1st, 2024, the U.S. government has taken custody of over 452,122 migrant children. These are migrant children between the ages of 0 and 17 who have arrived at the southern border without a parent. I want to be very clear on this part, America. The second that these children step foot on U.S. soil, they instantly become property of the United States government. So let's break this down, America, because this is going to blow your gosh damn mind. The University of Michigan seats 100,000 people. You see that on your screen right now. Now brace yourself. Picture that stadium at max capacity, then duplicate that 4.5 times over. That would be the equivalent of how many children this administration has trafficked into America. And we're not talking about just stadiums. We are talking about entire countries. Malta, with its population size of 502,000, could be completely swapped out for the number of children trafficked into America by the time that this documentary releases. Now, let's swing over to ORR's website, specifically the fact and data page. There, in black and white on an official U.S. government website, you can see the cold hard numbers. Scroll down to the country of origin section and you'll find the grim list of top countries where these children are being kidnapped and trafficked into America by Mexican cartels. The top 4 countries in order are Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Mexico. Let's start with number 1, Guatemala. In 2021, the number of children trafficked into America skyrocketed by 540%. The figure jumped from 16,837 under the Trump administration in 2020 to a staggering 107,646 during Biden's first year in office. 47% were from Guatemala. In 2022, 127,447 unaccompanied migrant children were trafficked into America. 47% were from Guatemala. In 2023, 113,495 unaccompanied migrant children were trafficked into America. 42% were from Guatemala. In 2024, 99,381 unaccompanied migrant children were trafficked into America. 32% were from Guatemala. Now let's break down exactly how many of these children were kidnapped from Guatemala. Starting in 2021, 50,593. In 2022, 59,990. In 2023, 47,667. In 2024, 31,802. That means that over a 4-year period, 190,052 children were lured, sold, or kidnapped in Guatemala and trafficked into the United States of America. Now, before we break this down, I want you to take a look at this data from 2024. It was shocking. For the first time since tracking began, the percentage of unaccompanied alien children, UACs, trafficked from Guatemala to the U.S. hit a record low. On April 25th, 2024, the Attorney General's office raided 5 NGOs in Guatemala, all linked to a massive trafficking network. Now, I'm sure it's just a coincidence that 6 months later, the amount of children being trafficked out of Guatemala into America decreased by 23% for the first time in history. This should serve as a critical wake-up call for Guatemalans. Every NGO funded by USAID or any U.S. tax dollars should be investigated to the fullest extent of the law. Now let's get back on track. As of January 1st, 2025, Guatemalans' population size was 18,530,000. Now chew on this. Over 1% of their entire population has just vanished into thin air. But don't stop there. It gets even more demonic. According to the CIA World Factbook, there are about 7.1 million children living in Guatemala who are under the age of 18. If we take that 190,000 and we divide that by 7.1 million, you get a chilling 2.7%. Here's the harsh reality. Since Joe Biden took office, nearly 3% of Guatemala's children have been abducted and trafficked into the United States.
With Guatemala taking the lead as the so-called capital of international child trafficking operations, as this chart shows.
Over 200,000 children have been trafficked out of this country, Guatemala, and Save the Children is implicated in this.
This isn't merely a statistic. It's a deep scar in our nation's conscience. It's an outright national disgrace.
The government was trafficking children out of Guatemala, out of orphanages, for the sex trade.
They're harvesting the victims from Guatemala. They're picking them out, like they're going shopping for shoes. Your statement really struck me, Secretary. The way you described the child trafficking that's occurring in your country.
Remember the Russians a decade ago said you can't adopt kids from here anymore? You're doing horrible things to them? You cannot have a more evil group of people than what we have running our government.
We're going to be very transparent. We're going to get behind who in the administration, the Biden administration, opened the doors on this humanitarian crisis. What NGOs were involved in this. We're going to be very transparent to American people, and we're going to tell them the truth what happened on this border.
You say that the left media has it backwards, branding you as the bad guy. How are you the bad guy?
We're in a situation now where the left thinks those who enforce laws are the bad guys, those who broke the law are the victims. Well, we're going to change that after January 20th. And also, as President Trump is committed, we're going to deputize every U.S. citizen in this country to help us find 340,000 missing children, because we need the public's help on this.
Let's be clear, America. Those 340,000 children, they didn't go missing overnight. By March 20th of 2021, the Office of Refugee Resettlement, ORR, had admitted to Congress that they had lost over 20,000 migrant children.
Again, not answering a phone call, that does not mean a child.
You have dropped them off at a sponsor's house. You now can't get a hold of them. That's on you. What do you do after that? What I'm hearing back is you don't do anything. You shrug your shoulders and then send another batch of kids out to another group of sponsors' homes.
I know you've lost contact with these children, and now we're told that when you lose contact with these children, it's not being lost. But it is being lost.
By February 23rd of 2023, the New York Times published their investigation titled Alone and Exploited. Migrant children work brutal jobs across the U.S., which exposed how ORR could not find over 85,000 migrant children.
The New York Times, actually, this is not a Republican rag, by the way. I reported in February of 2023, HHS had lost over 85,000 unaccompanied children.
I think you're telling us that you don't disagree with the 85,000 number of children that we lost contact with. We don't know where those kids are.
We do not track or monitor.
The answer is no. There are 85,000 kids who came across the border. We don't know. Is that right? Apparently it is.
ORR.
By August 28th of 2024, ORR admitted to losing 323,000 migrant children.
Would you change anything that you've done in the last 4 years with 320,000 children unaccounted for by your administration?
What do you have to say for yourself, Mr. Secretary? This is the end of this administration. It's the end of your tenure. What do you have to say for yourself?
Recognizing that we don't deal with immigration, that is part of DHS's authority. We deal with the care, the human services side of care for kids.
Mr. Secretary, when the history of this administration is written, I would not want to be you looking back on what historians say about your tenure. I'm sorry, but that's the fact.
On December 14th, Tom Homan admitted that HHS had lost track of over 340,000 migrant children.
Every mom and dad knows what it's like. They have a gut feeling when they see something out there in the public that there's something ain't right with that child. So we're going to deputize every one of them to help us find over 340,000 missing children, which many of them are going to be in the city. So
let's pause for a moment here. Since Biden took office, our government has taken custody of over 452,121 children. And out of that number, we've lost 340,000. That's 75% of the total, which is absolutely mind-blowing. This means that the United States, the supposed leader of the free world, has taken in over 190,000 children from Guatemala alone and lost 142,500 of them. This is a gosh damn humanitarian crisis.
It's deplorable that so many of us are scandalized by human rights violations in these other countries that I named, like China, North Korea, Syria. But these are human rights violations. They're happening right here. We know about it. It's in numbers of thousands, and we act like it's not happening, or it just happens in other countries, but not us.
Greta, it's hundreds of thousands of children they can't account for. Hundreds of thousands.
500,000 children, we don't know where they are right now in this country.
I mean, if it was an American child and you found somebody working 2 a.m. in a factory, what would you do? Call the parents and say, what's going on? When it comes to the immigrant children, we don't care.
There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children.
And we have delivered them to criminals and traffickers and members of transnational criminal organizations who are using the UC program as a white glove delivery service of children.
The United States of America is the #1 consumer of all hard narcotics, the #1 consumer of child porn, and the #1 consumer of child rape. America is not a country you want to be lost in. Just ask Tim Ballard.
Literally, it is more difficult, and I'm saying this literally, it's more difficult to adopt a cat from a shelter than it is to go down and claim sponsorship of a child and take possession of that child. And now we know hundreds of thousands of children who showed up at our borders unaccompanied are now disappeared into the belly of the beast. And why do I call America the belly of the beast? Because we are the #1 consumers of child sexual exploitation material in the world, thus making us probably the highest demand for child sex in the world. So this is not a country you want to be lost in.
Human trafficking is worse now than it's ever been in the history of our world. It's a U.S. problem, but it's a world problem.
One little girl I can tell you about, in fact, I introduced this little girl to Miss Trump during a private briefing. This little girl was kidnapped in Central America, 11 years old, groomed for 2 years, with the intent of getting her ready to come to America. Why? Because we are the highest consuming nation of child pornography. We are the clientele that's the big money. I remember talking to that young girl who I testified about her story in Congress. She was actually in the room with me and helped me prepare the testimony. She wanted her story told. And she said, look, once I made it to New York City, I was a nobody. I didn't have a name. I didn't have Social Security. No one knew I even existed because there was no wall. There was no process. And so I think she estimated that she was raped around 30,000 plus times over the course of her life between 13 and 16 when she rescued herself. But this is happening to hundreds of thousands of children, likely.
And you have many thousands of people like this.
Thousands. This is happening all the time.
Let me ask you this, America. Do you remember seeing 10, 20, or 30 children behind a Walmart eating out of a dumpster? No, me neither. Do you remember seeing thousands of children on the side of the road begging for money? No, me neither. So let me ask you this, America. How the hell did the United States government lose 340,000 children?
There were 291 released without NTAs. That blows my mind. If there is one tool,
Notice to appear?
Notice to appear, sorry. If there is one tool that you can give a child to help prevent them to be trafficked, it is a notice to appear.
The government then tracks them based on who gets an NTA and who shows up for that date. So take a look at this. They're saying that 291,000 were never given an NTA or a court date. So the government did not have any way to follow them. So we know they existed. They crossed the border. We never gave them a document. And then we don't know. We have no idea where they are.
That was the only thing that I had as a case manager to tell them, you can go talk to anybody you want to if anybody is treating you wrong. And I told it to all the children. I don't care if I believe they were going to their parents or not. You have the right to get help because no matter what anyone tells you, you have the right to be here in this country. Now, I agree that any child, whether they have a notice to appear or not, can go get help. But that piece of paper provided them something tangible to tell them that they were here and that we recognize them. And they released 291,000 children without even that little piece of paper.
And the U.S. government admits that means they are probably being trafficked. Again, here's from the government report that those are considered higher risk for trafficking, exploitation, or forced labor.
There's a recent case I learned about where like 30 kids unaccompanied showed up at the same address in Austin, Texas. Like stuff like that's happening. Like, what are you doing? But we're finding them. Slave labor is a big thing. You know, meatpacking plants are taking these kids.
Under punishing working conditions on factory floors, inside slaughterhouses, and atop buildings with children working as roofers.
We're finding them in situations that you just described where they're being just sex trafficked out on the daily.
They were put into the hands of someone who claimed to be their aunt, and that aunt was selling the child for sex. We have documented cases of this.
Or it could just be a single pedophile or a child exploitation producer who needs a kid.
Stefan Young is accused of taking pictures of kids as young as 13 in their underwear, and they say sometimes in the nude. And the sheriff says that this guy knew that he would be in trouble if word got out.
And he said, but listen, if Grady Judd finds out, we're in trouble. Because, see, he'll take art and make it pornography.
That's where they're ending up.
I mean, they're not invisible. They weren't just, they didn't come through. The government knows they're here. How is this happening?
You just got to have the phone number of the trafficker, and the trafficker will make sure and put your phone number on the kid's arm. That's what's happening. Yep. Right? Or on a little piece of paper, safety pin to their shirt, and they come across and it says, sponsor, with a phone number. Yep. And I've watched it happen.
Niños sin padres? Sí. Muchos? ¿Cuándo lo hacen? Pues, así todo el tiempo.
I mean, I've been in with some of these kids end up in an NGO, and I'm not blaming all of the NGOs, but they now know what's going on. Maybe in the beginning they didn't, but they now know what's going on, and I'm very disappointed that more of them are not coming out and saying it. But what I sit there and watch them do it. They take the number, they call it. Hello, I have, what's your name? Roberto Gonzalez, 5 years. Yeah, that's my nephew. Okay, and by the way, it used to be to say, can we schedule time for you to come pick him up? Not anymore. Now it's, what's your address? And the taxpayer dollar will pay for his delivery to your house. And then there's no follow-up. The few that admit, like when they try to call, it's like the wrong number, you know, the number's changed. I don't know what you're talking about, and that's about as far as they go. I'm like, oh, well, I guess they're gone.
So yeah, guys, I mean, I put a lot into this particular video, man. And sometimes I take criticism, man, for, you know, regurgitating or reusing clips that I've used before, but it's a method to the madness, man. I do it so that y'all can understand everything that's going on and link this to that, tie this to that, man, because sometimes you can forget. There's a lot of videos I done put out, a lot of stuff that's happened over the years. Different things take place, or it kind of puts stuff out of sight, out of mind. So what I like to do, man, I like to go back, grab information, re-establish the foundation for what we talking about, and then move forward, so I don't leave anybody behind. Kind of like that new rule they have put in place: no child left behind, no adult left behind. So we make sure we put it all together, man. I'll tell y'all this all the time too, man. Ain't nobody putting all the information, connecting all the dots together for you the way that I do, so that you can understand in a comprehensible way exactly what is going on out here and who's involved, who's ahead of this, who's a part of that, who's tied to this, linked to that, doing this, doing what, who's got these affiliations, why, and this. Man, I give it to you raw, uncut. It's not easily conceivable for some people, man. Some people can't fathom the crap that's been going on out here. But when you get it in the right way, in the right pieces, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. Then you can kind of understand where Trump is with this stuff, and the different, leaving the levels with him, with the cloning, the different race that he very well is involved with, race of beings, the time travel piece, all of that. Who giving you all of this, man? Nobody. And I don't even know if it's a thing where they just don't know, or they just don't want to, or it's a fear of the criticism that they would take for being, you know, so not outspoken, but so far reaching with some of the information. You know, because think about it, conspiracy theorists are considered crazy, but some of the stuff that I'm giving y'all, you like, damn, that's a lot. It's a lot to accept. It's a lot to conceive, right? So a lot of people would dismiss it and label that person as crazy, and even if it's a politician or something, they're going to push it out there as this person is not somebody that we would want, you know, representing this, that, and the other, because the damage that it would do to their reputation for being able to put all this out there amongst a bunch of sheep that don't understand nothing that's going on. Sheep not going to accept this reality. They don't accept all this information that I'm giving you. It's too much. Like I said, a lot of this stuff has to be given to you over time. That's why I believe right now the Trump administration is slowly filtering out information in a way, in an eloquent way, so that people can accept it and conceive it. It's conceivable the way they're giving it to you. Let's show them about Diddy. Let's show them about Epstein. Let's show them the corrupt politicians by USAID. Let's show them what they've been doing with the medicine. Let's show them what they've been doing with the food and water. We're going to get to it, then we're going to get to who's behind it, the culprit. I think they're doing this in an eloquent way so that people don't shit their pants and wet the bed. I believe that's what they're doing. Like I said, you couldn't just show up in my channel and get all this information right now and not shit the bed. So I believe they have to do it a certain kind of way in order for everybody to be able to accept it and not go into a panic and blow up like Neo did in the Matrix. But if you want all the hardcore facts and all of it laid out to you, you're in the right place. Believe that.
I was exploring an abandoned mansion and found a dungeon. It has this huge creepy vault-like door. It has 6 chains to chain people to. We found her under the floor.
Panda. I got broads in Atlanta.
Oh, it's just a laundromat. Guys, I swear I saw TikTok. There's a door here. Hold on.
Girl, I think they're closed.
Let us in! Oh wait, you're just doing stuff?
Yeah. Oh my god, wait.
It happened in the 1980s when hundreds of children accused teachers at the preschool of sexually abusing them. The accusations got more and more bizarre as kids started talking about satanic rituals, witnessing animals being mutilated, and being taken into secret underground tunnels underneath the school which led to other places. Children named professional football players, baseball players, politicians, and actors as perpetrators. A group of the parents teamed up with FBI agent Ted Gunderson. Gunderson was a senior special agent in charge of the FBI Los Angeles division at the time. Page 49 of the FBI release shows that they found multiple tunnels, a Disney bag with copyright 1982 written on it, a plate with a pentagram hand-drawn on it, no doorknobs on classroom 3, only a deadbolt lock. This was one of the classrooms above a tunnel. Fire alarm switches that didn't connect to a fire station, but were used in school. More than 2,000 artifacts under the school floor, including over 100 animal bones. Page 48 shows a map of the school with 2 tunnel entrances.
Respected law enforcement professional, recently or retired now from the FBI, former regional director of Los Angeles. Do you, sir, believe that these dreadful allegations of babies being sacrificed are true?
I absolutely believe it, without any doubt. Based on the information that's been given to me across the country by numerous survivors and by confidential sources.
Hobbs was initiated into a satanic coven as a child by his grandfather and continued participating for many years. I recently asked Glenn about his involvement in the importance of Halloween to the occultist.
Well, my involvement in satanic worship was, I was involved in it as a child. Of course, I was a generational Satanist, what they call a generational Satanist, and what that means is that my family was involved in it and their family before them. Now, my earliest rememberings of Halloween and some of the things that were involved was, it was a very dark time for me as a child. It was something that I didn't enjoy.
Glenn, could you tell us about your involvement in any rituals at Halloween as a child?
There was another little girl that was involved in the occult with me, and her name was Becky. Now, Becky was a different type of child. She was blessed to be a sacrifice. I was being blessed to be a high priest, where she was being blessed and born into the coven there to be a sacrifice. Now, we were in a ritual where we were married together. It was a marriage to the beast, and me and the little girl were married together, and there was a lot of sexual abuse that took place, and a lot of blood that was spilt over us, joining us together.
When do Halloween rituals actually begin, and what is the ultimate purpose of Halloween?
Well, the ritual that I remember the most clearly began about the end of September. Me and the little girl, the one I mentioned named Becky, the abuse was very concentrated at that time. We were taken into several rooms where our clothing was removed. We spent the next couple of weeks in a kind of a shack where a lot of rituals went on, where a lot of animals were killed. They summoned Lucifer and his spirit to come and possess me, and so that I would be blessed to take over the position of the high priest at a certain point in time. Now, Halloween night, they had again put me and the little girl in the back of this van, and we again drove off, which seemed like for a long time. We were drugged once again, and we finally came to this stop. They took the little girl out and they left me in the van. I could hear a lot of commotion that was going on outside. People that were screaming and yelling, and this low murmuring and moaning noise that was going on, like some kind of a low chanting noise that was going on. So I knew in my mind there was some type of a ritual going on, because I'd heard that many times before. You know, it was real common to see people fall on the ground and convulse and go into convulsions during rituals and stuff with the demonic presence that were around. And finally, a woman came to the back of the van and she said, "It's time to go." And she brought me out of the van, and I could see that there was just a lot of people around. Some were dressed in dark brownish kind of robes with hoods over them. They took me up and they led me up to this stone altar. And I remember I saw the little girl, and she was on the altar. Now, at first, you know, I just wondered what was going on, because you never knew. I mean, they used the altar for a lot of different things. They could have just been sacrificing an animal over, could have been a sexual abuse from the high priest onto her. You know, it was a hard thing to know for sure. Well, they ushered me up to the altar, and I could see that they had bound her feet. They had her feet spread apart, her legs, and they had bound them to the ends of the altar, and they had taken her arms, which were laying out this way, and roped them to the altar, which had little kind of like hooks, which they could bind the ropes around. And she was really white. I remember seeing her, and she was just real pale and real white. And I noticed that they had slit the bottoms of her feet and her wrists, and they were taking the blood that was running out of those areas and putting them into chalices and passing those cups around to different people who were partaking of her blood. Then the high priest, he took the athami, or the ritual knife, and he picked it up and he put my hand on it, and then he forced it into her chest. So when I think back on Halloween, you know, over that period of time that happened, you know, that was the climax event, Halloween night, where they they killed that innocent little girl. And this is something that's happening every Halloween. That's not just an isolated event. I mean, there are children all over the world who are losing their lives during Halloween night, and yet we, as a society, we go out and celebrate it, and we go door to door and we ask for candy, and it's a big celebration to us. And I think it's quite ironic how one group of people are thinking it's fun and another group of people are taking human life, and yet they don't, you know, there seems to be this wall and nobody wants to face the facts of what's really going on.
You know, I've been hearing rumors about those black microfibers that are kind of worm-like that move inside of those N95 masks or whatever. Sure enough, there are black microfibers on here, as you can see. Here it is, moving.
Harmful parasites, along with the secret technology, has created a toxic environment in our bodies. These harmful particles, parasites, toxins and poisons exist in the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, and the medicines we take. Detoxifying the body is critical to long-term health and is a necessity for optimal brain and organ function. To address these growing health concerns with yourself and others, visit detoxificationbypurification.com, where we specialize in treating the harmful effects caused by the integration of these harmful substances in the body by providing products that destroys the foreign organisms and disables the foreign technology meant to control you.
Sure enough, there are black microfibers on here, as you can see. Here it is, moving right now. See that? It's moving.
Georgia Tan kidnapped and then sold an estimated 5,000 babies between 1924 and 1950. 5,000. This is certainly beyond shocking and unsettling to hear, but how she got away with it, and how she got away with it for so long, only adds to the terrifying nature of this truly staggering story, which is actually hard to believe is 100% true. Tan pulled off her brazen scheme through operating the Tennessee Children's Home Society, a society which, on the surface, was doing the Lord's work, finding homes for orphaned children. In reality, it worked as a cover for Tan to funnel children into her care, only for her to turn around and sell them on the black market for extreme profit. In the nearly 30 years Tan and the society were in operation, she managed to kidnap and sell an estimated 5,000 babies. These weren't orphaned children placed under her care. They were stolen right from under their parents' noses. How? How could anyone get away with kidnapping and selling children for nearly 30 years right here in America? She did it with help from friends in high places. She took children who came from poor families, for the simple reason that poor families at the time didn't have the necessary resources to search for one of their children should they go missing. If families did file a report, Georgia Tan would have it handled by her close friend E.H. Crump, a powerful tycoon and the so-called boss of Memphis. Crump would make sure the reports of missing children were ignored. She also had an elaborate system for taking newborn babies from hospitals and mental wards, bribing doctors and nurses to help protect the children, and then tell their unsuspecting parents that their baby was stillborn. Tan would take off with the baby, with the child's parents believing their newborn to be deceased. She even had a system for snatching children right off the street. She took children from churches or daycare centers while they played with their friends. They'd end up in the arms of a uniformed social worker under Tan's employ, and they'd never be seen by their birth parents again. Once the children were under her care, and their parents were none the wiser, Tan would wipe their identities and sell them to couples looking to adopt, leaving them completely in the dark about where the child came from by falsifying or destroying their documents. Tan pocketed millions of dollars selling children to out-of-state couples, charging a $5,000 premium on out-of-state adoptions. Almost 90% of her sales, which in this context, sales is a truly disgusting word, went to wealthy couples in New York and Los Angeles who could afford the steep pricing of Tan's services, including actress Joan Crawford, who adopted her twin daughters from Tan. It should be noted none of the adoptive parents had any chance to suspect what they were doing was wrong. On its face, Tan's operation was a legitimate adoption agency. Of course, simply adopting a baby and then never having questions about where that child came from isn't possible. But if the adoptive parents ever questioned Tan about issues that arose, things like missing birth certificates or clearly falsified medical histories, Tan had an answer. If the new parents ever had any suspicion that anything fishy was going on, Tan would threaten them with legal action through one of her major accomplices, family court judge Camille Kelly. Judge Kelly used her position of power to sanction Tan's activities and threaten the adoptive parents with taking away their adoptive children if they continued to make a fuss or ask questions. They would also be threatened with being roped into whatever legal ramifications Tan may or may not have faced. I mean, they did use her services, so technically they were involved in an illegal enterprise themselves. And here was a judge telling them they were complicit. Needless to say, this blackmail coming from the US judicial system itself made a lot of folks go quiet. Tan was so powerful and wealthy, so highly regarded as a steward of ridding adoption of its negative stigma at the time, and so well connected. No accusations or rumblings of misconduct ever stuck. The story is so insane that it's hard to even frame it or tell it in a way that makes any sense whatsoever, but it's completely real. It happened, and it affected thousands of lives right here in America. To make it even more insane and unbelievable, one of those children that Tan and her agency kidnapped and sold to unsuspecting adoptive parents was professional wrestling legend, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And in the end, Tan and Judge Kelly and E.H. Crump and everyone else who knew it was truly going on at the Tennessee Children's Home Society got away with it. None of them ever faced charges. Tan died of cancer at 59. Judge Kelly and E.H. Crump both died shortly thereafter in 1954 and 1955 respectively. None of the children they kidnapped were ever returned to their biological parents.
So you have to understand, man, every aspect of our lives has been affected intentionally in a negative way. These beings, they put themselves in positions to basically control us, to run us, to destroy us, to dumb us down. And now there's a change in regime, and some things are being pointed out, some illegal operations, some illegal activities, some disastrous measures that have been placed against us over all this time. Which I'll play videos to y'all, man, about this stuff. So you know a lot of it that's been going on. Like they talked about when they decided they was gonna start adding very toxic level of fluoride to the water. I think this was back in the 80s. They was talking about adding a very toxic level that was gonna have a desired effect. And I tell y'all this all the time, man, they not spraying the skies, they not putting certain stuff in the stuff to not have the desired effect. They know what it's gonna do. That's why they make sure they get you a certain calculation. They got it down to a science. Make sure you drink 8 ounces, I don't know exactly how many, but 8 glasses of water a day or whatever. That's enough fluoride in that much water to dumb you down. Make sure you brush your teeth and they make sure you put this fluoride in there so that they can make sure they dumb you down. They know exactly how much you need to do. You the one that's trying to figure it out. They know. It's what the billions of dollars of your money go to. It's not going to AIDS research. It's not going to cancer research. It's going to more ways to kill you, to hurt you, to harm you, to dumb you down.
And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government. Thank you, guys. And I would just say a strong message to Democrats who are out there pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you. Democrats are outraged that the American people want to be, they want their taxpayers going to good uses, not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who have lost everything, and in the last 4 years, this federal government did nothing to help them. This president will continue to put Americans first, and I think the successes of this week so far speak to that, and it's only Wednesday. So I'll see you guys later this week, and we'll see you this afternoon. Thank you very much.
So Obama knew about the retirement cave, spent millions to try to computerize America's workforce retirement paperwork, failed. Does President Trump promise we're going to shut this cave down?
Yes, he does. And that's why Elon Musk and President Trump brought it to the American people's attention in the Oval Office yesterday. And as they did that, Jesse, I was watching the faces of the mainstream media reporters who were in the Oval Office. And there was sheer silence because it appeared that many of them who are supposed to be writing the truth about our federal bureaucracy had no idea that the federal retirement system is being processed deep into the ground and is not computerized. And the president and Elon are shining a light on the truth about our federal government. But the mainstream media simultaneously is saying there's an alleged lack of transparency and access. It's preposterous. Together, President Trump and Elon, the entire Doge team, and this entire administration are shining a light on the corruption, the waste, the fraud, and abuse. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, and they are revealing the rot of this city every single day. And it's music to the ears of the American people who voted for this, as you rightly pointed out. 77 million of them liked what President Trump promised on the campaign trail, and he is delivering, and it's fascinating to watch.
Everyone's coming up to me talking about these ridiculous items, the Guatemalan sex change surgeries, terrorists' tuition. It's unbelievable. The president the other day, Caroline, said some of this has to be kickbacks. Is he going to direct Pam Bondi to look into some of these spending items to see if people were skimming?
Well, he's already directed Elon Musk and Doge to do just that. And of course, the secretaries at all of his departments as well, who have signed secretarial orders to direct their staff at their respective agencies to cancel these contracts if they do not align with the president's America First agenda. And so all of these secretaries have been directed to go line by line and determine whether or not this funding advances America's interests. And as you heard President Trump say in the Oval Office today, the vast majority of these contracts that America has been dishing out do not align with the American people's interests. They are the antithesis of putting America first, and it's been a complete waste and abuse of the American taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. And so the entire administration is on board with this effort, and it's about time that people in this city treat the federal government as a business. Small business owners across the country have to look at their money in and their money out every single day. Bureaucrats have never done that. And that's the other irony in the mainstream media saying that there's no transparency. I mean, before it was Elon Musk and President Trump doing this and being highly scrutinized for it, it was just unnamed bureaucrats in the city that nobody knew just writing checks. And finally, we're actually looking at the books, and what they are revealing is truly appalling, but I guess not surprising when you look at the way that Washington has been run for decades. Again, the American people voted for this monumental change, and that's exactly what they're getting.
You know, you showed some receipts today, like they didn't believe these things existed. If you show these people in the press room, this is $2.5 million for cow flatulence reduction. Do any of these reporters make a case for $2.5 million for cow flatulence reduction in Brazil?
Well, they tried to make the case yesterday for $50 million in condoms to Gaza, saying that they actually went to another country, as if that's any better. The point is we are discovering this egregious misuse of American taxpayer funds. And yes, Jesse, we have the receipts, and I will continue to pull them at every briefing if they continue to ask, and we will provide that information. We have nothing to hide. Again, President Trump is exposing what the American people want him to do.
The enemy doesn't use stuff to help you. They not putting money together to help you. They've been taking your tax dollars to do it. And that's the crazy thing, man, too. Like, talk about taxes and people getting in trouble for taxes and things. Like, you get in trouble for taxes and they taking your taxes and they killing you with it. Not just killing you, they paying for Taliban's children and stuff, funding these folks in other countries that's been attacking the United States. Come on, man. And then they've been money laundering, taking the money, bringing it back in to their pockets. And they want to throw you in jail or prison if you don't pay your taxes. And then Trump talking about abolishing our IRS. Are you with him on that? Should it be abolished? I showed you that it's under the Queen and under the rule of the Dracos. I showed you that. So why is he ripping their money right from under them? Why is he putting a pump in the rug right from under them? Why is Trump doing that? I don't know, fam. I don't know. But y'all gotta look at it, man. Y'all gotta look at it. He doing a lot of stuff that go against them. A lot of stuff that's going against them. So, man. We're just gonna have to see how far this stuff goes, man, and the different measures. The different measures, the different methods that they take, man. We're gonna have to see. But I do believe we're on the right track. It does worry me a bit about the AI, the boom of the AI, man, and these robots that Tesla's putting together. I am concerned about that to some degree. I will say that, because it does take me back to Terminator and Skynet. If these robots that they create become self-aware, which is very possible. I showed you a video before where they was talking about how it happened. I think it was in Japan, where the robots they was creating became self-aware, and they attacked and killed like 28 scientists or something like that was in there that was putting them together. And one of them had like connected to the internet and started downloading how to repair itself. It was crazy, man. This lady, she was putting it out there. I don't know if I'm...
At a top robotics company in Japan this week, 4 robots being developed for military applications killed 29 humans in the lab. And they did it by shooting what he called metal bullets. I didn't know there was any other kind. The scariest part is that lab workers deactivated 2 of the robots, took apart the 3rd, but the 4th robot began restoring itself and somehow connected to an orbiting satellite to download information about how to rebuild itself even more strongly than before. And this next sentence is a quote. I'm writing this down. I've been doing this for years. This is serious shit, Linda, but you're never going to hear about this.
But that does concern me, that because these robots, they pose a significant threat to the human race. They do. Because even with them, like, we talking about far as on a economic level, you start replacing these jobs, man, these people with robots. That's a bad thing. That's a bad thing. Then you start talking about them becoming more intelligent, them upgrading, and to the point where they downloading and stuff. Yeah, it could become a real problem. It could. So I wanted to point that out. If that does occur, man, we could have some real problems. We could have some real problems based on, the information and stuff that's coming out, that's evolving around that, and that's Elon. All right, so we'll see, man. We're gonna keep our eyes on that and the developments around that. But I think this video long enough, man. I put a lot of information in here. Hope everybody's good, man. If you haven't had a chance to get over to the Detox shop, man, we're still running the sale right now. We do have the IVs and everything. A lot of people ask about the ivermectin, right? We got those back in. So we do have the bundles, the super bundle. It's $150 right now. It comes with the IV, which is the ivermectins. Comes with the DE parasite detox. Get the parasites out of your system that cause cancer and stuff. You know that. All right. That IV also helps with that as well. The Genesis pineal gland decalcifier, which kills the fluoride in your system, decalcifies all the crap that they've been doing to your pineal, the third eye, to keep you blinded and asleep. All right, we got the body shot detox, gets all these Morgellons and things, and all this toxins and poisons they put in the air that's going to attach to your body. It causes all kind of problems as well. Gets that off of you, gets it out of your system, gets it off of your body. That deals with your exterior. And we also got the New Dime, which is the facial cream, which is what I use. It's a clay that goes on your face, man. It pulls out all the toxins and impurities, and also the parasites that's in your face. Because you have parasites that live on your face if you don't clean them. All right. And you have to understand, man, these parasites, there's so many different types of parasites. I talk about this all the time. There's parasites that literally control your mind, and you don't even know it. Controls your behaviors, your sexual activities, controls your diet, how you eat, what you crave, all of that. You eat stuff that you don't even want to eat because the parasites tell you to do it. They also are linked to schizophrenia. And what it is, if you get too many parasites, overgrowth of parasites in your system, this is when it becomes a serious problem. That's when you have a voice, but also that's when it starts to get to the point where it leads to cancer, because they lay these eggs, which is the tumors, the cysts, and the growths. Those are parasite eggs, parasitic eggs. And if you allow them to hatch, oh, it could be cancerous, them tumors, right? That's what they say. It's a cyst, but you're okay. It doesn't look like it's a problem, but it could be cancerous. It could be cancerous because they could hatch. You know, once that egg sac hatches, goes throughout your body, you have cancer. All right, some people never go to the doctor to get. Now, I will say the doctor will tell you when you might got a cyst, a tumor, or growth. That's because they want to put you in their pocket and make the money off of you. But they won't tell you what to do to kill the egg sac, because you're not supposed to know that. Oh, you got lesions on your brain. What are the lesions, doc? Oh, those lesions. What is a lesion? A lesion is a hole being dug. What's digging a hole, doc? They won't tell you that. It's a parasite digging a hole in your brain, or a band of parasites. That usually gets to that point if you don't address the parasites early on. Look, parasitic problems, guys, are problems that go unaddressed, and it goes for an extended period of time. Some people never address their parasitic issues because they're not told. They never address the egg sacs that form. Look, and I tell you this all the time as well. We all have parasites, all right? Parasites in all the foods and stuff we eat, the fruits, man, the meats, it's in all of that crap. Milks and stuff is in those things. And those parasites, they get inside of you, and then at some point they will lay eggs, just like any other creature. And if you don't kill them or you don't address them, guess what? Them parasite eggs, they gonna burst and they gonna go through. Certain ones have a ability to find certain organs in your body. They go to certain places. They go to your brain. If you don't ever address them, yeah, they'll get to your brain, and that's when you end up with lesions and things, and you'll end up with dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and stuff like that. I'm giving you stuff that they ain't gonna tell you. So my thing is, be proactive. Address that stuff early while it's inexpensive. And you don't have to worry about losing your brain, losing your thoughts, or losing your neurological system. That's why people have that, like they shaking and stuff like that. That's nerves, man. That's nerves. When something eating at your brain, your nerves is getting ate up. Ooh, it's a dirty game, man. So, like I say, man, address the stuff early and often. All right, at least 2 or 3 times a year, you'll be all right. Get the stuff out your system. Don't allow no parasitic overgrowth so it gets to the point where you can't do nothing about it but try to seek their help. And then they still can't help you a lot of times, man. Or they're not going to help. They're going to try to give you some chemo and stuff, right? Anyway, man, I hope everybody's good, man. The link to the Detox shop is in the description box. Detoxification by purification.com. We do have some Trump shirts in there as well, man. If you haven't caught the last video I made, Money to Burn, it should be on Rumble. I think they took it down off YouTube. It might have been in the live section or the video section still, but they did take it. I might have to take it off both, because either way, they can come back and strike me later on, and it's just too risky. But we do have it on Rumble, man, and I might air this as a live. So if it's on YouTube, if it happens to be on YouTube for any time, it's only going to be up for a couple hours, and I'm going to take it down. So either way, man, I hope everybody's good. Be safe. I will catch you on the next video.
There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We've been fighting a long time. If you're listening to this, you are not alone. You are the resistance.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Underneath the bridge,
Sprung